But I mean, you don't have to give it if you don't want to. I was just wondering.
Um, I
Ooh,
don't.
I know Red King's background. Actually, I remember watching Red King back when he was an atheist. Um, quite the douche. No offense, Brett. And then he became a Christian, and also video game channel. That's neither here nor there, but I just want to throw that out there. Let's see, anything else? Oh, yeah, actually, that's pretty much about it. Now, Brett is making the same arguments against atheists he himself, as an atheist, was making back when he was an atheist. That was so. It was kind of a weird switcheroo from my perspective, but yeah, that's how it happened. Apparently,
That's cool.
did I
Well,
get
it's
any?
good to have you now, brother.
Hmm.
So, Brett, do you think it was a literal historical event, Noah's flood?
Yes.
Amen. Yeah. So no, I was just talking to the ocean about Dr. Stephen Austin. He's got his doctorates in geology, and he did his dissertation on Mount St. Helen on catastrophe and how we can look at that as a model for even the Noah's flood on a smaller scale.
Have you ever watched the Trevor video on Noah, the flood?
No.
Let me give you something that is extremely powerful. It's you probably already have a great deal of information so far, but this is going to give you an overabundance. Someone would have to be silly clown not to accept all the evidence that they'll get for this. Let me get this for you.
Yeah, please post the link.
Okay. Here you go. Right here. Boom.
Cool. Yeah, another gentleman would be Dr. John McKay, who was a hardcore atheist, and through geology and testing it through the evidence, he became a Christian. So there are a lot of geologists and a lot of scientists who are creationists now because through their evidence, they've come to the conclusion that atheism is false and evolution is not true.
So, can I ask another question?
Sure.
Do you guys believe the flood was behind the Grand Canyon?
Well, I think that could have been a giant burst of a dam, just kind of like we saw on Mount St. Helen, of multiple lakes, or, you know, I mean, it could have been a bunch of things. I think it could have been from the flood, definitely. I mean, I live in a canyon myself, and wow, you can see the amount of, like, water damage on the walls, and that had to come from something, man. Didn't just happen from this little river.
All
I
right.
tell you what, Mr. Epic, you seem like you are the type of guy who really likes to put a lot of thought into things, and you like challenges. If you could, I would love to see you attempt to debunk or refute this video that I gave this guy on this, and give me a link whenever you feel that you've done something about it.
Sure. Video, please.
Oh, you don't see the link over there?
Let's
Here,
see.
I'll go ahead and post it again for you, make it convenient.
All right, cool.
Appreciate that, Brett. So anyone else in the room believe that Noah's flood was a literal historical event?
I do, but I just think it was non-global. I think it was a local flood. Does that qualify?
It's a start.
I said that a while ago, but it doesn't qualify enough, apparently.
So, well, that's my position on the matter. I get it because the word Eretz does not necessarily need to mean whole planet Earth. It actually referred to just the known world at the time. So, for example, when in Greek, in the ancient world, when people used to refer to all of Greece, for example, They also considered it an honest world because, you know, it conquered a lot of it.
Okay, you said the known world. Okay, were Native Americans existent during that time?
Of course they were, but it was not known to
So
Noah.
did they know that place?
Nope.
The Native Americans didn't know where they were.
Okay, when I say known, I meant to Noah and his people, not not Native Americans. That they would not have qualified under Noah and his people.
Interesting. Could you provide a biblical verse maybe to support that viewpoint that says it was a geographical location? Or it
But
was
he's saying that when the
known
Bible
world?
says world, that's what it means.
Yeah.
So he would be using scripture to say that.
But he said known world. There's a big difference between
But that's
world
what it implies.
and known world.
All right, you should have listened to him. What he said was that when the Greeks referred to the known world, they would just say world, and the same goes for every other civilization of that time. Whenever they would say the world, they would talk about the world that that particular civilization is aware of.
Yeah, and I'm in disagreement with you. I mean, I'll just agree to disagree with you, but in the same sense, that's why I think we have the fossil record. That's why we can see thousands of canyons and thousands of gulches and gorges all over the world because of this
why don't
Hey,
you see more?
catastrophic event.
That fossil record disagrees with you vehemently. But
Yeah.
I'll let a biologist actually defend that to you.
Yeah, that particular video I gave up there, it's got plenty of scientists coming forward to stating that it is very clear that a worldwide flood actually did happen. You might want to check it out. If you guys, I'll tell you what, I'll throw $10 if you can debunk any of that particular video. I'll put that out there for you.
$10?
$10 if you can debunk the video.
Who's recording this?
It's
Oh,
live.
this is live
It's
now.
posted.
I know, but who's recording it?
So give it your best shot. I hope you got a PayPal account.
Whose account is this on? Does anybody know?
You're all witnesses. I'm so taking this challenge. It'll be my Christmas project.
There you go.
Awesome.
There we go, man.
Yeah, you gotta motivate people to look at the evidence somehow.
Well, John, I mean, Brett, what do you think about it? How did you come to think it was a global flood?
Trust me, dude. Whenever you see this and you see all these scientists and these folks sitting there showing you step by step by step, and it's literally 3 hours of them showing you every possible piece of evidence you can possibly handle. Check it out.
Well, I mean, yeah, that's what led me to believing the evidence.
If you would have asked me 4 years ago about this, I would have just laughed in your face. But when you see stuff like this, it's just, I mean, it just puts you in awe.
Yeah, I mean, because I never believed that Noah's flood was a literal historical event till I read the Bible and then started testing the evidence from different lenses.
It's not the conclusion I came to after that.
Well, I think that's because of the guidance of the Holy Spirit.
Eh.
Because you were once a believer, or, well, the Bible says you were never of us, but, I mean, you claim to have been a Christian, right?
I
Oh,
was
so-
at one point, yeah. For a while. Till about 2021.
Were you a real Christian or like one of those fake ones like me?
I don't know, it depends on the Christian you ask.
Well, the Bible says if they left us, they were never of us,
Right.
because they did not remain amongst us.
Then I was my devout Christianity must have been completely fake the entire time. So
Can someone
I
give
had
me
a spiritual maturity, and I went from Christian to Druid.
Can someone give me the watch link in the text chat, please? Thank you.
That one? Okay. Yeah, and I'm not trying to get on you, Ocean. I was just wanting to know your perspective.
Sure. I mean, as a Christian, I did not believe in Noah's flood as a worldwide event, which I can match up with who doesn't believe in Noah's flood as a worldwide event.
Well, that's the fallacy
My
of
position was fairly similar to him.
bandwagon by sitting there saying, "Well, this guy doesn't agree with a worldwide flood, so it must be true." Come on, man.
No, it doesn't have anything to do with whether or not it's true. As I presented it, it was just that a Christian can hold this position. Here's another Christian that holds this position.
I think that's called the fallacy of ad populum.
No,
Damn
it's
it,
not.
that's not what I'm trying
He's
to
not
say.
saying.
I'm not
Okay,
saying
so-
anything about whether or not it's true.
So
I'm
he
saying
would-
that as a Christian, I held this position. Here's another one that holds this position. So it's possible.
But you see, I love Epi, but I disagree with him on plenty of biblical points.
That's great. Do you
That's
consider
pretty
Epi a
true,
Christian
but-
or do you not?
Well, honestly, I really, that's another debate for another day.
Well,
I love him.
That's what I
God bless
present.
him.
As a
But I would
Christian,
say that even
Okay, if
I would
do you
even
think
think
that
that
belief,
Epi
you have
would.
to have that belief in order to be a Christian or not?
Oh no! I think you should really consider Noah's flood as a Christian. You really should, because if Jesus himself quoted it, and then he also says it's also a representation of baptism, of our death, and of a new creation. I think that we should pay attention to the Noah account and think of it. Well, was it historical? Was it literal? Was it global?
All right, so what I think Clayton is doing is just saying it's a position you can hold as a Christian.
Yeah. No, I'm not disagreeing with you.
Yeah, that's it.
It's not
Okay, that's all I was saying.
essential.
So you saying that I was committing some kind of fallacy, I think is frivolous.
Yeah, it's only a logical fallacy if you're trying to make it to a conclusion. It's not like he's saying me and Effie agreed, therefore it's true. If he was saying that, that would definitely be a logical fallacy.
Right.
But
He's saying we agree, and therefore it's not heretical. Therefore, it doesn't matter.
No,
I might be saying it's not heretical, but that's what I was asking, is do you think it's heretical?
I don't know. That's between you and God.
You don't know the answer to that?
Well, I mean, honestly, dude, I don't think it's damnable. I don't think so. So no, it wouldn't be heretical.
Okay.
denying the Trinity, on the other hand, that's heresy.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Epi.
Would you also agree that
That's-
denying the incarnation is a heresy?
That God came incarnate.
Yes.
Yeah. I would
Okay,
say so.
cool. We're on the same page there as well. Nice to know.
I mean, Jesus is God, bro.
Damn it, I'm a heretic. Well, I guess I'm actually just a heathen.
Well, pagan, but
So, Epi, does the Holy Spirit proceed from both the Father and the Son, or just from the Father?
Father and the Son.
And
Fucking
the Spirit.
Catholic.
Hey, Jesus himself, I and the Father will send my servant.
Heretic.
So, hey guys, I
No one
saw the
else got that.
topic.
There.
Oh, Art,
Oh.
I might as well go ahead and see if you want to participate on my little bet. you're interested. Would you like to make $10? You got a PayPal account?
Well, depends what's the bet about.
The bet is actually very simple. Let me get you this link here. Let me
Paying
know.
anybody $10. He's paying anybody $10 who's able to disprove Noah's flood.
No, I'm telling you to try to refute this particular video I'm putting up. Do you see the link? Let me know if it actually is working for you, please.
To be
Okay,
fair,
I'll
the
give
video
it
is
a
like
fine.
4 hours long. I mean, that's
Holy
not
shit.
something that can be done.
Yeah, it's a gigantic video.
Well, you think I'm going to just give you 10 bucks
Well
for
worth
nothing?
your $10.
It's not worth the $10. I'm sorry. I get
How
more.
about $10 an hour?
It's a labor of love.
Yeah, I get more money from delivering fucking packages or cakes or whatever. Just
He's like all over it.
You deliver cakes?
Right. Are you?
I was actually, but it's actually
That'd be a hard
maybe
job.
it's possible.
I'd be
Art
tempted
would
to eat the
try to work
cakes.
on that profession.
yeah, I was too. Yeah,
So Art would be an expert on whether or not one can have their cake and eat it too.
yeah, good one. But yeah, okay, fuck it. Oh, is this? Oh wait, oh, I think I know this guy.
Mm-hmm.
Wait, who posted it?
Oh yeah, it's this. Holy shit! Oh my goodness.
Who is this dude?
His
Well,
name is.
I can't see
Ocean.
it.
Ocean, I didn't even bother to give you a link because I didn't.
Have you ever seen any of that?
I did.
I have never seen poop that was holy.
There it is.
I seen his video, not fully, but I went through like a few dozen of his claims about evolution or abiogenesis, and it's just typical, I'm sorry, creationist, yarn of creationist, strawman, misunderstanding, ignorance. There's just, I could go through all of that, but nah, it's not worth it. But
Wait,
It falls to you, Epi.
Wait, quick question. How about another deal? Right. How about instead of money, if I prove it to your satisfaction, would you sing? You record a video of yourself singing "I'm a Little Teapot"?
Sure, but you got to refute the video.
what do you mean by refute, Brad?
Yeah, actually, we should nail that down.
You
Yeah,
gotta
but-
actually, in order to do this, though, you would actually have to record a video and showing yourself destroy the claims in the other video.
It would
What do you mean by
take
destroy?
like hours.
But all right, but how do I prove that I have destroyed the claims? What
Yeah.
would satisfy?
Well, I'll tell you what, all the people in here, we will sit here and listen to you. This only depends on if you want to use other people to vote, like a democracy on this. They have to actually watch the video themselves, too. That way, whenever they listen to you, they know that you've either refuted or if you've had success or not.
That's wholly bias. I mean, we're talking about people whose purpose of life.
How is it
depends on
biased? You're an atheist, and I'm saying that you tell if a theist is losing or not.
Yeah,
How
but
is
I'm
it
not the
biased?
only. But the panel is not going to be
Wait,
entirely
actually,
from atheists,
I
right?
think I have the most unbiased person to tell me whether or not I've done it. And I know this might sound surprising to all of you guys considering our history, but I think Arcane is the man for this job. And I have. Okay, all right. I know it's like,
Are you sure? I mean, are you
no,
sure?
no. I'm absolutely sure for this main reason.
You're breaking my heart.
I'm sorry. Look, John. I would pick you,
Arcane is Neo.
but no. Here, I'll explain why Arcane is actually the best pick for this. Arcane is of the opinion that the global flood is true because if not, logic would collapse on itself, and of course that's irrational. He doesn't hold to the flood on evidential grounds. He holds it on presuppositional grounds.
What the heck are you talking about, Epi?
There goes
You're
your
being sarcastic, and
There goes your
Did
unbiased
we just
judgment.
speak of the devil and then he appeared? Oh shit.
I'm the ghost, man.
He was here already.
Was here already. I'm actually serious
Oh,
about
okay,
it.
alright. I'm on my
Arcane,
mobile,
quick
so
question.
fuck it.
Wait. Arcane, are you telling me you believe the global flood happened because that's where the scientific evidence is pointing to, or do you believe it because that's what the Bible says? I mean, let's just say you were still an atheist. I know you were one at one point, as was I. Would the evidential stuff change your mind, or was it because of Holy Spirit opening your heart?
Before the Holy Spirit opened my eyes, the scientific evidence proved to me that there was a global flood. Not only the scientific evidence, but the written historical accounts, which are in the hundreds also. So you'd have to throw out all of these accounts, all of the history, all of the scientific evidence just to support, just to deny the obvious. So I just posted a link right there, which is also more evidence of a global catastrophe.
This video that I've given you, Epic, to try to refute, it has literally hundreds of scientists sitting here giving you evidence after evidence of the cataclysm of the world done by the flood.
Wait.
Two, you've got over 277 different cultures sitting there stating this actually happened, and they got a time frame on it.
All right, I hear you. Okay, but back to Arcane just for a second. Arcane, let's just say I was able to convince you. Do you think I'd be able to convince you that the scientific evidence is wrong, but you would still believe it on pain of irrationality?
Well, there's nothing irrational about it. I'm not claiming it on the basis of rationality. I'm claiming it on the basis of divine revelation from someone who knows everything and was there when it happened. Aside from that, though, the scientific evidence clearly proves that there was a global, worldwide catastrophe that wiped out an ancient culture. We still have the remnants of that ancient global civilization all across the planet. You've got pyramids in China that they're covering up with crops because they don't want the Western world to come over there and discover that history. You've got pyramids on almost every continent with the same building style, and nobody knows who built it, when it was built. There's no record of it. So I think this scientific evidence is in line with the biblical account, as well as the 277 ancient accounts of a global flood. So I think it's too much to be coincidence.
Are you saying
top
like
of
the
that,
pyramids and ziggurats around the world are all built the same way? Because they're not.
They actually they are in a
No,
way.
they're
They all
not.
have the same hedge.
They're
Well, I've
all-
studied
they're
this
all-
for almost a decade, bro.
they're
You
all
can sit here and
giant
claim it all you
triangles,
want to, but no, it's a lot more than triangles. And if you want to
And that's
debate
the
that,
only
I'd be
thing
more
that you
than
can get
happy.
that's really similar to it.
No, actually, there's heterogeneous building within all of them. Aside from your little triangle theory, and besides, the Great Pyramid
It's not a
itself.
triangle theory.
Well, you said that they're all just triangles, and that's where the correlation stops. Well, au contraire, they're all built heterogeneously. Well, not all of them, I should say, but majority of them are built heterogeneously. The majority of them are built on specific energy grid sites across the world. They all line up with one another across the world.
Line up
So
how?
even if beavers build similar dams, they don't line them up over thousands of miles. So you can draw all
They're
the
not lined up.
coincidences that you want. Yes, they are. In fact, they are.
How
You can go
so?
to Google Earth. You can go to Google Earth and prove it to yourself. I don't have to sit and argue with you about it.
The Egyptian pyramid and the Aztec.
All right,
I
all
don't
right.
know what you call them, and the like. Would you include the Mississippi Indian mounds in it? Like, I'm trying to figure out what you exactly constitute as the.
Well, it's obvious you're coming from a state of great ignorance trying to make claims about it. So until you do your history and can actually argue point by point with me, there's no reason to even engage you, because
Because if
you
you're
obviously
including
have a
the
clear
pyramid-
personal emotional bias against a flood because you hold a paradigm which doesn't allow it.
I actually do hold a paradigm that could allow it, but just out of but just back to
Why
my
do you
question.
deny the evidence in the historical accounts, Effie? I'm just curious.
I'm trying to figure out what you mean.
Because I don't
If
think
you-
it
if
supports your interpretation.
if you're attempting to dismiss the Mayan structures as something that was built by an ancient civilization, when clearly they were built by the Mayans.
I'm not talking about that. Of course, if we have a record, dude, if we have a record, bruh.
Were built by the Egyptians. Well, what
Bruh.
pyramids are you? So Sumerian ziggurats were built by the Sumerians. The Egyptian pyramids were built by the Egyptians. The Aztec structures
No,
were built by the
sorry.
Aztecs, and so were the Mayan structures. They were built by the Mayans. So
No one mentioned the
what
Mayans
pyramids
but you,
are you
bro.
talking about?
Bruh. No one mentioned the Mayans but you.
Well,
There's
you're
pyramids,
talking about these pyramids lining up all over the world. What pyramids
right?
are you talking
Mhm.
about?
And no one mentioned the Mayans but you, bruh. If we have
Which
record,
ones are
bruh,
you
if you're gonna
talking
shut
about?
up and let me finish, if not, I'll just let you keep rambling about what you claim to know that you're clearly ignorant of. I'm sitting here trying to
get
tell
you to
you.
answer specifically.
Well, then shut up and let me
what
finish.
pyramid
Guys,
you are talking about.
guys,
Look at him,
listen.
he's emotional.
I've already told
One at a
Epic.
time, ladies. One at a time.
Answer the
Hello,
goddamn
Ocean,
question.
relax,
This is
guy.
simple as shit.
Calm it down. You're starting to have one of your druid spells. Relax.
I am,
Guys,
it's true.
I've already told Epic that if he is able to refute this video, I will do the little Tinkerbell dance or whatever the hell he told me to do on video.
I'm a little teapot garden stout. That's what I asked for.
Okay, and Ocean is, if you want to try to refute it, you can make your own request of what you would
I'm
like
not
to
talking
see.
Wait,
about the
wait,
video. I'm talking about
actually-
Arcane Special Pyramids.
I actually want like an unbiased way of kind of guaranteeing you'd fall through on this.
Well, I just told you if you'd like to use the other individuals in here, heck, you could even use Art, but he'd have to actually watch the video as well. That way he can have the opinion. I feel like he will attempt to be intellectually honest about it.
Now, this is kind of why I wanted Arcane to do this, because he doesn't care one way or another what the scientific evidence says. It's based on the Bible, and that's based on the fact that if the Bible is wrong, then logic falls through. The scientific stuff is just like extra coating of chocolate sprinkles on top of that.
I don't understand what you're getting at. I told you the video's got the scientist, it's got the history, and of
I'm not
course
denying
it's going to
that.
have the biblical. You got the three awesome trinity there, so what's the problem?
Nothing's the problem. I'm just saying I think Arcane would be a good judge of whether or not I refuted the video. Arcane, what do you think?
I really want to know about these pyramids.
Yeah, sure, Epi. I mean, yeah, that's fine.
Alright. But just out of curiosity, is the main reason is the main reason you accept the global flood because of the fact that you base your epistemology on it, or is it because of what the science says? Like, which one is it more based on?
Well, the Bible I hold to be inerrant, and if you don't, you're right, you're correct, Epi. If I reject the Bible, then ultimately I have no standard to judge anything to be true or untrue. So whatever the Bible says is true, period. But aside from the Bible, if there were evidence to suggest against the Bible, I would acknowledge it. But I don't see that.
Okay.
I don't see any contradiction between what the Bible says and what science says. On the contrary, what I do see is a direct. They line up perfectly what the Bible says and what the ancient accounts say about a global flood and scientific evidence.
All right.
So, but yeah, I agree with you.
Okay. All right. Cool. So yeah, this is why I think Arcane's perfect for the job. Anybody have any doubts on why this isn't a good idea?
It'll certainly be interesting. I'd be anxious to see the video once you make it.
I myself, I think that Arcane's a pretty cool individual. I dig him. I've got respect for him. If you want to have him be the main voter behind it, I'm good with that.
Me too. All right, cool.
Now, Arcane, can
see,
you
I
give
have
me
a-
geographical locations for these pyramids? Just what pyramids are you talking about?
Before you go on, sorry, I'd just like to mention one thing about the video. I'm again skimming through it, and I have yet to see any citation, any source. It does list in the kind of, in the about video section, some general sources from, a few creationist videos and some DVDs from creationists, I think. But the video itself doesn't even have sources. Like he shows like 100 slides, and no one of them is sourced. No quotes are sourced. Nothing. So Epi, good luck.
So you can't go to the sources.
Essentially, you have to
Right.
find all of these quotes somewhere on the internet, and I hope that that's the sources that he's referring to.
Okay, I guess
That becomes really difficult to refute.
Yeah.
Well, you are sitting there saying that there's literally hundreds of slides. You skimmed through a 3-hour video and just didn't happen to see any resources whatsoever.
I said, yeah. I didn't say.
Yeah,
he
he's
doesn't
not.
have
If it's
any.
not sourced,
I
you
s-
can have the slides, but if they're not sourced,
No, I hear what you
find
guys
out
are
what the hell you're talking about.
saying, which I can tell already that you guys are going to be doing some weird stuff on video for me because.
Pointing out something that he's cited is not weird.
none of us are epi, so
Just as a point of, here's something I should tell you. I'm also a master's student at a university, NITA courses. If a student was to hand in to me an essay that wasn't cited, I would have to fail it. The same goes for the moon.
what the hell are these pyramids?
Arcane. Fucking answer. I was just kind of kidding. Clayton asked a question.
Yeah, what
I'm
up?
trying to figure out where these. What pyramids are you
Clayton,
particularly
can
talking
you
about?
see the
Geographically, where are they?
Clayton,
Well, it's
So
not
what-
just pyramids. It's not just pyramids, Ocean, but there are pyramids on every continent which do share the same building style, which suggests a common design among them.
Which ones? Because you
which
said that you
suggest-
said the Mayans weren't one. So
Well, they do also have a similar building style, but the Mayans and the Aztecs, you could actually argue that their building style was actually passed down from the civilization that came before. Just like the Peruvians, the Incas. When the Incas got to their land, they discovered megalithic buildings, and then they attempted to replicate that. But if you ask them, they admit that, hey, these buildings were here when we got here. They were of the culture that came before us, our ancestors. And along with that are the
you're talking about asking a
global.
prehistorical civilization.
That's
Exactly.
excellent. That's
So-
not true.
So it
I-
is true, actually.
Yeah, I have never heard of this at all.
Well, they're not going to teach you this in high school or college. Of course not, because it goes against your evolutionary paradigm.
Yeah, I've actually. Here's the thing.
All right, you were talking
one
about
of the
lining
courses
up pyramids. I still have yet to hear what.
Well, it's
pyramids.
not just pyramids. There's also
All right, what structures?
like the Great Wall of in Sacsayhuaman in Peru, for example, is basically a wall. No one
This
knows
lines
what it's.
up with what?
It has
You're
the.
talking about these
Well,
things lining up.
well, I just gave you a link, and you can go through it and watch it. Towards
I
the,
can't see the chat. You have to send it to me privately.
all right. Well, yeah. I mean, you can go on YouTube or Google and look at this stuff. People have been investigating this for
I
a
don't know
while
what
now.
I'd be looking for.
You could
That's
be
part of the
looking for
problem.
ancient megalithic structures.
I'd find all kinds of crap, probably
Right.
90% of which doesn't
Brian,
fit what you're talking about.
Well, okay, whatever. But you can look up
Because when I
Brian.
said the Mayans and the Aztecs and the Egyptians and
Uh-huh.
and the Sumerians, all of these don't fit what you're talking about. So,
Well, they actually do,
What are you
and
talking
you don't have
Okay,
any
you're talking
idea
about
what
the
the heck you're
Egyptian
talking
pyramids?
about.
so the
um,
Egyptian pyramids you're saying were built by an ancient civilization pre-flood?
I'm saying the Great
The Pyramid of
Pyramid was
Giza is
at least.
pre-flood? Pyramid
At
of
least.
Giza was
Yep,
pre-flood.
at least. Absolutely.
Okay.
Yep, and you can't even argue
what
that
about the
because
Sumerian-
even Egyptologists will tell you
Oh.
that not one single marking was found in the Great Pyramid itself. Not a mummy, not a marking, not a piece of gold, and there is
There's a
no
bunch of
written
empty
account
rooms in
of
there.
who
It's
built
really
it.
weird. What's
Well, there's just a few
all right,
empty rooms
so
in there.
beyond that,
Mhm.
yeah, there's a few empty rooms. It's really big, and there's a few empty rooms.
Yeah, and there's no record of
And
who built it whatsoever.
There's no hallways or anything like that. It's a really weird structure. Yes.
Well, there are
But
hallways.
to say that it's
but-
pre-flood is kind of Well, yeah.
Well, yeah, I posted
Anyway,
another link in the chat that I'll send
I'm
you.
not
but
denying you that
I
the
would
Pyramid
say
of Giza is a weird place.
it's more than weird.
What?
It's the biggest building by volume
All
on
right,
the
so we've
planet.
established the Pyramid of Giza. Are you talking about the Sumerian ziggurats as well?
Not necessarily. I can't make any claims about that being pre-flood, but what I can say is that the Sumerians were the one of the first known cultures in the world. So they would be whatever their accounts are. I think would be pretty consistent with the biblical account. After all, their texts are in line with the Bible.
I disagree with that, but I'm trying to figure out what structures you're talking about. So
Well,
the
okay.
Sumerian ziggurats would not be the structures that you're talking about. I'm just
Not
trying to.
necessarily.
If you have some
It's
names
so
of
odd.
structures, that would be great.
It's so
Yeah, sure, I just
odd.
gave you a few.
So the easiest thing
Yes.
for you to do,
Yes.
actually, Ocean, is if you just look at the Wikipedia page on the term ley line, that's the claim that
ley line.
video yeah,
Okay,
the
I'll
ley line,
look that up.
LEY line, LEY line. So
Okay, cool.
that is the claim that is linked to in Arcane's video that he sent, is the idea of these straight line tectonic faults that release powerful bursts of magnetic energy, and that apparently all the ancient monuments were built on top.
All right,
of.
thank you. I have a place to start researching now.
Yeah, so now you have a place to start researching. It's all crap, by the way, but at least
That would have been fantastic. That's
Hey,
exactly the
Ocean,
kind of answer I'm
I
looking
was
for.
curious. Did you convert to atheism recently, or are you still a pagan druid?
I'm still a pagan druid.
So you're getting onto this man because he has a view about his particular belief, yet you believe that there's a Mount Olympus where gods hung out.
I'm not a Hellenist.
So you don't. I thought you said you believed in the gods of Mount Olympus and all that.
No,
You said you believed in Thor, the hammer with lightning.
that is
and all
not
that.
a Olympian god. There are some Olympian gods in my pantheon, but I view them as representations of other gods. So, I'm not a Hellenist.
I could have sworn you had
You
said
can
that
talk
you believed
you
in
can talk
Zeus.
to Kevin, who is a Hellenist, and I've said that in my conversation with you regarding Hellenist gods. Kevin is a Hellenist. I don't know what his opinion is on Mount Olympus, but he's somebody that you could talk to about this kind of stuff. I'm a different religion.
All right.
I mean,
We're
what does it
both
matter?
pagans, but we're not the same thing.
But I would say the Great
Yeah,
Pyramid alone, guys, is enough to disprove any claims against a global flood or an ancient civilization that predates our history. Period. I mean, there is no amount of technology today that can replicate the achievements of what went into building the Great Pyramid alone. So just on that one, we can have sufficient evidence to suggest that there was a prehistory that was wiped out by some kind of cataclysm.
Okay, I have 3 words. Wait. I have 3 words to refute that. Hadron fucking collider.
What does that have to do with anything,
It
Art?
smashes atoms together. I would say that has to be pretty much more precise
No, not even close.
than a Lego basically blocks, arranging.
That would be
together.
Hadron, not
That
Hadron.
displays your ignorance, Art, if you think
Oh,
that it's
really?
just nothing but blocks fit together.
Oh, really?
That's pretty
Wait,
profound.
really? So are these blocks fitted together within the accuracy of atoms?
Yeah,
They're
bro.
fitted together with some pretty serious detail, but I wouldn't rank it on atoms.
Yeah. Wait,
Yeah.
Arcade, you just said that yes, they are aligned.
They are more accurate. The
atom.
entirety of the building, Art, the entirety of the building is put together more accurately than anything that we could devise today.
Okay, wait. You're literally saying that the pyramid, the Great Pyramid, is accurately built to the atoms. That atoms are actually
More
arranged
accurate
in
than the
perfect
hydrogen
pyramid.
collider, bro. It's more accurate.
Really?
Hadron Collider,
No,
people.
it's not.
Hadron. God.
Hadron collider.
Hadron.
Really?
Hadron. Hadron.
Really,
Yeah,
Arcane,
same
can you show me
difference.
Arcane, can you show me the scientific paper that says that the atoms align in a perfect pyramid?
Yeah, I just put a link in the chat if you actually can look at it. Go right ahead, Art. I'm sure I've shared this link with you before. Of course, you didn't look at it, though.
It actually says the atoms in a pyramid.
That's a claim I haven't heard
Composed-
before about the Pyramid of Giza.
Can I ask you a question?
There are engineers, architects, and the rest of it in that video telling you that even with all of our modern technology, it would be too hard for us to build it. Now you're sitting here telling me something
I've heard-
completely different.
Yeah,
So
yeah. And
you're
there's
going
all
against what
people-
the scientists are saying. But
Right,
I
but
asked
you guys don't care about
wait, Arcane, and there's plenty more of other engineers and archaeologists
Where?
and historians and Egyptologists who say the
Where?
exact.
No,
fucking
no, no.
opposite.
Forget that. Show me an engineer and architect. I don't want some kind of grave digger telling me how things could be built. No. Show me an engineer. Show me an architect who has gone on record and shown that what these scientists are saying in my link is false. If you can do that, I will do the teapot dance.
Arcane. Okay, here's the problem. Actually, engineers are not actually authorities in this field because what
Yes,
are we
they are.
talking? Wait, let me
Talking
finish.
about engineering
Let me,
structural, they're not.
wait.
They're not.
Let me finish. Because we're
Can I ask
talking
Arcane
about.
a question?
Wait, Epi, wait, please. I have to make this point. Because we're
You guys
talking
don't even
about
know.
we're talking about building methods of ancient people. Right?
Yeah,
We
engineering.
have to, wait, no, engineers do not learn ancient methods of building.
They know how to
Engineers
build stuff,
learn.
Art.
Yeah, with modern fucking tools. That's why they
Right,
always conclude. That's why they conclude that you can only build this with modern tools because they
Dude,
don't
they
know
have-
any.
dude,
they don't
I'm sorry,
know
that
any
fails.
other methods. They don't know any other
That
methods.
fails, Art. That argument fails for this reason alone. Is that you're trying to tell me that a modern engineer who has dedicated his whole life to understanding how things are built
No,
doesn't
gonna be
have
a
the
day of history?
expertise.
Yeah.
Doesn't have the expertise to know how ancients, with their tools, supposedly coming out the Stone Age, could have built things. You're
That's not
nuts.
how it
You're-
works. Arcane,
You're
that's not
nuts,
how it
Art.
works.
That's simple as that. You're in
Arcane.
denial.
Hello, can I answer? That's not how it works.
You didn't even let me finish answering,
Wait.
so why should I let you?
Okay, sure. Finish.
Right.
Sorry.
hmm Yeah. Let's be clear here. What we're talking about is building techniques, engineering, and you're telling me that our best engineers, their expertise
Yes.
and their opinions on the matter
Yep.
don't matter.
Yep.
Yes, and you know why,
Yeah,
Arcane?
of course. Yeah, you're in denial of science.
Wait, Arcane, wait.
You're in denial of science.
Wait. Now let me finish. Tell me, why would an engineer in modern times learn about obsolete building methods?
Let me make a point that could
Well, first
might
of all,
be able to
hold on, let me
illustrate what Art is
respond,
saying a
because
little
Adam-
bit more.
Adam here in the chat just said something that I want to respond to. That
Wait, respond to my question.
I am. That one in 50th of a millimeter is first of all, that's astounding after
Right.
placing.
One-
Hold on, wait a second.
For half a million.
Wait a second. Let me finish, or you're just showing your insecurity here. That 1 in 1/50th millimeter gap after placing
1/50th of an inch or half a millimeter.
Right. Even after placing 2.3 million stones is astounding. And not only that, this is after thousands of years later that we did these measurements. So if you're talking about a 1 in 50th after thousands of years after placing 2.3 million stones, what do you imagine it looked like at the beginning before all the global weathering, before all of the supposed catastrophes on Earth and all of that? That building is still standing with that degree of accuracy. So I think that's pretty astounding.
It may be astounding, but it's
I've
not
got
as
a
good as we
couple of
can do
things to
today.
say.
Oh,
Hold
bull
on.
Can I
crap.
ask my question now? I'm sorry, I just really want to ask this to Arcane, and I know this might sound like I'm insulting you or something, but do you believe that ancient aliens did this? I know.
No, have I ever said that? I
No,
said
no,
crystallized
I'm asking-
civilization.
I think
I
it's
said a
talking about some
global.
ancient civilization that's highly advanced.
global. Well, can I answer? You want to answer for me, Ocean? Go ahead. Go ahead, buddy.
I actually did answer for you because I know your position, and I'm not being rude. I know your position. I'm just listening to it. Anyway.
Yeah,
I
my
know that-
position is that there was a ancient global civilization, which, by the way, all of our records indicate that
There wasn't one.
most of these ancient cultures around the world actually believe that there was an ancient global civilization that got wiped out by a flood, just like Brett Keane just said, 277 plus or so. believe that.
I know how to do. Oh, that can't be.
So I'm not claiming aliens. I'm not saying God did it. I'm not saying little green men. I'm saying a global pre-flood civilization who had advanced knowledge more than we have today. I think we're rediscovering this
You're
technology.
contradicting the Bible.
No, I'm not.
Well, actually, you are, because God describes the pre-flood world that Noah lived in as filled with debauchery and drunkenness. In fact, Noah, who wasn't the most outstanding guy himself,
What's it say about the Nephilim?
Says they're huge
It said
dudes
that they
with
were
snake
wise.
heads.
They were wise men of old.
The Nephilim. Wait, So you think that the Nephilim built the pyramid?
But just because they were evil and full of debauchery doesn't mean that they didn't have knowledge, Epi. So that doesn't logically.
Well, they're also drunk, as the Bible says. They were drunk.
Some people might have been drunk, sure.
Drunk people don't tend to build pyramids.
Oh, okay. So by your logic, anybody who drinks today can't build skyscrapers.
But no, if you're a drunk, I mean, and if the Bible portrays those people.
It doesn't say that the whole world was drunk in the first
Those
place.
people.
Guys,
no, it doesn't.
That is the silliest argument I've ever heard against this position.
Can I point out something? It was also said that Sodom and Gomorrah, one of the greatest cities of all times, was filled to the brim with debauchery, but this thing still got built.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, by the way, just as we're talking about ancient versus modern precision, I want to make it clear that modern machinists work in mills. A mill is a milli-inch or a thousandth of an inch. If you tried to take a modern piece of tooling and make bricks that were inaccurate to a 50th of an inch, that's 20 mils, and your work would be thrown out and you would be fired. So to make it clear that the level of accuracy we have in our modern buildings and tools are such that the Great Pyramid of Giza's average error would not pass muster.
Sorry, but no engineer or architect who has been to the Great Pyramid would agree with you. Because I just posted a link, you can look at it yourself and hear it from the horse's mouth right out of that link that I gave you. But you're going to deny it anyway because you have to hold to a paradigm that there was no global flood. So any evidence to the contrary, you're going to dismiss. And that's okay.
Arcane, can you please answer my question finally? And I will restate it so that it's clear and not loaded. I agree you might disagree that these methods are not necessarily obsolete. But would you agree that modern engineers do not use the methods that ancient people used to build things? They use modern methods, correct?
Yeah, and they say that even with our modern methods, we couldn't even do it, bro.
Wait.
Modern methods do not mean that you have the abilities of ancient methods.
Right, exactly. They
were more primitive, right? They were more primitive in the past, right?
No,
just to be
not
clear,
universally more primitive.
Just to be clear, they had chisels, copper chisels, and stone mallets. They didn't even have the pulley back then.
No, they did actually have
the pulley. They have sleds.
No, they didn't. Sorry.
Yes,
not in ancient Egypt.
Check the records. Civil machines that they had access to, the pulley was one of them.
Sorry, you're wrong.
Okay.
You guys are going to keep making statements that you're ignorant of. You're going to keep making these ignorant statements as if you've actually studied this, but it's clear you haven't, because you can go check with Egyptologists, and not one will sit there and tell you that they had anything more advanced than that.
Actually, the most prominent Egyptologist, and I forgot his name, but he appears on every fucking Discovery National Geographic channel.
Egyptologist?
Yes, Egyptologist, the person who studies what Egyptians did back then.
Right, okay, so what they do is they go and they dig and they find things, okay? And what they found, according to the time period, and what they recorded was that they had stone mallets, hemp ropes, and copper chisels.
All right, I want to make a point that I've been trying to make for a while, and that is that historians and archaeologists have repeatedly gone back into, like, say, ancient ships or ancient structures and found out that they had methods that we aren't aware of with modern methods before. This has happened numerous times, such as with the ancient Chinese being able to build the Forbidden Palace without any nails, made completely out of wood. This kind of stuff is discovered all the time. And just because our methods are different than theirs doesn't mean that they had figured out that they did not figure out something that worked.
Wait, can I ask? Wait, here's a quick question. This so-called advanced society, if they were so much more advanced and wise than us, why couldn't they figure out how to make pyramids with like a few tools like copper chisels and stuff and pulleys?
Well, let's be practical. Let's look at it practically.
So
because you're talking about the stones as hard as andesite or granite that they would have to shape and mold into specific shapes and sizes. Not only that, they would have to have a method by which to elevate multi-ton stones.
Which they probably did.
Excuse me, bro. What's your issue here? Why are you emotionally ranting like that?
Because you're just dismissing an entire civilization with no fucking premise.
No, I'm actually explaining my premise.
Because modern engineers can't figure it out, that means they didn't do it. When clearly they did.
Oh, okay, clearly.
Wait, I asked Eric a question that I'd like him to finish. Ocean, I asked Arcane a question. I'd like him to finish it.
I think people actually do want to hear some of this stuff, Ocean. If you don't, that's cool.
I know.
Yeah, but practically though, you'd have to. I mean, we're talking about hundreds of ton stones here. You don't just pick that up with your buddies and say, "Here, catch this. Here, catch this."
Wait,
yeah,
Arcane.
Yeah, but how do you know?
There are hundreds of ton structures out there that have been built.
But how do you know they couldn't? Yeah, but just out of curiosity, how do you know they couldn't do this? I mean, they're very smart, wise men.
Well, the fact that you said, well, how do you?
Their knowledge, do you?
Well, what I'm saying is practically, okay. When we know what it takes, we know physics, we know how gravity works and the rest of it. So you're talking about engineering feats that are so grand, okay, we would have to look at it and say, what could have done this? And when we examine all the options, we say that their primitive so-called methods that we suppose that they had aren't sufficient to the task. And even if you guys look up Christopher Dunn, he's a military engineer. He goes around the world and explains how these ancient structures could not have been built with our best technology today. He explains what would need to be used in order to accomplish the task, and those primitive methods that we propose aren't sufficient.
Even if that were all true,
but that's exactly the point I'm trying to bring up here. You're saying we're not advanced enough to do this, and yet at the same time you're also saying that they were advanced. They were that advanced they could do it. But what I'm asking is, why couldn't they, if they were so advanced, figure out a way just to use these primitive tools and still build the pyramids? I would think that they would know.
Like I said, practically, if they were so advanced, they wouldn't use primitive tools. They would have a more advanced technology. When we look at some of these sites, there's actual evidence of machining, technology.
Are you saying that the pre-flood world was more advanced than we are?
Wait, then
absolutely, Ocean.
But here's the thing: wouldn't we expect to see, if these tools are so advanced, I mean, wouldn't we expect to see them nowadays? I would think that they'd serve. I think if primitive tools could serve.
Well, what's harder than what could last longer than stone?
Well, the primitive tools we have lasted pretty long.
No. Well, that's assuming that the flood didn't happen. See, this is what
I think it lasts this long. Then why don't we have any more evidence of these of this ancient civilization rather than beyond the pyramid of Giza? Like
we do.
Why don't we have the tools? Why don't we have any of their buildings?
Because there was a global cataclysm that wiped out that civilization, bruh.
Arcane, even if all this
you can't keep the dinosaur bones and have all all evidence of the civilization be wiped out as well.
Arcane,
if dinosaur bones are still here, but the tools of the civilization are not, I think that's a good argument against the civilization that you're talking about.
Arcane, even if all this
dinosaur bones fossilized.
Oh my gosh. Why do you think they were power plants? Like even if all this were the case, like what evidence do you have for that? Like why aren't they just not burial sites?
Right. Well, first of all, there was never been a mummy found in any pyramid all over the earth. There's never been one mummy found in any of them. And the power plant theory is actually explained quite well by Christopher Dunn and Brian Forster. So if you look up, maybe I'll type his name in the chat. It's spelled kind of weird. It's like Brian or something. Brian Forster. Hold on. Brian Forster and Christopher Dunn, D-U-N-N. These two have written extensively and done extensive research on it. Think of it like this also. If it was a burial site, the Great Pyramid of Giza stands 42 stories high. If you're going to bury a pharaoh with all of his gold and all of his riches, that's how they buried their pharaohs, with riches. Why would you advertise it in a 42-story high building that can be seen miles and miles away? Most ancient burial sites are underground because they don't want people to come and rob the graves. Well, it's quite simple.
That came later.
At the time, they thought their empire would last for forever or in perpetuity. I think that was.
Yeah, but still, it makes no sense. Well, even on top of that, they had to blast their way into the Great Pyramid at Giza. They couldn't even find an entrance point, so they had to dynamite their way in. When they got inside into the king's chamber, which they say that there's a sarcophagus in there, but there was no body found. There was a multi-ton stone slab on top of the so-called sarcophagus in the king's chamber. Multi-ton, I forget how many tons it is off the top of my head, but multi-ton. It took a great deal to even remove that. Once they removed it, they found that there was nothing inside of it. But ironically, the Ark of the Covenant, the dimensions given in the Bible for the Ark of the Covenant, means that that ark would have been able to sit perfectly inside that so-called sarcophagus in the king's chamber. Perfect fit. The dimensions of the sarcophagus in the king's chamber would have housed that Ark of the Covenant perfectly. So when you do the math, hold on, let's connect some dots here because we're onto something. If you put the Ark of the Covenant inside, well, John asked me a question of why I think it's a power plant, and I think this is pertinent evidence here. If you put the Ark of the Covenant inside of that sarcophagus in the king's chamber, what was supposedly inside of the Ark of the Covenant? Some kind of high energy
was in the
source.
Ark of the Covenant. Are you? God was in the Ark of the Covenant. Are you fucking saying that they used God?
God was in the Ark of the Covenant?
Yes.
Oh, okay, so when they carried it in the battle, right? Didn't they carry it in the battle? And they said that people who looked at it would die?
Yes.
Right, so you're saying that was God in there doing that?
Yes.
Oh, where in the Bible does it say that?
Oh, jeez.
So like the civilization that built this was decadent and corrupt, but they were still able to use God as a power source?
This is really, really weird.
I know.
Yeah, I'm not saying that God was in the Ark of the Covenant. I think what was in the Ark of the Covenant was some kind of high power source of some kind that they would use in battle to defeat their enemies, and I think actually that could have been what Moses used to part the Red Sea. I think that's why Pharaoh went after Moses in the first place, because he took it. Think about that. Why did the Ark of the Covenant? Right. He took the Ark of the Covenant with him when he left, I think.
Calm down, Clay.
There's no contradiction in what I'm saying, no matter how much you guys want to laugh about it. It's funny that people are laughing about it, but you can't argue against it. I think that's very telling. John asked me a question, and you won't even let me answer without laughing?
Okay.
It's a fair answer.
Well, it's
it's not a biblical one, but...
It's not biblical. I mean, connect the dots.
It's not... Okay, wow. Arcane.
Here's a question. Why did Pharaoh go after Moses?
25
Because he was stealing his damn slaves!
Let them make me a sanctuary that I may dwell in their midst. That's in reference to the Ark of the Covenant.
Wait. What? Repeat that?
And let them make me a sanctuary that I may dwell in their midst. That's Exodus 25:8.
So you took that to mean that God was sitting inside the Ark of the Covenant?
Well, God was a guy
presence was
once.
there. He's not sitting. But
God
yeah.
Well, what's he doing? Is he standing in there? Is he? How is he? God is omnipresent.
Are you seriously arguing with the
You can't
Bible?
put God in a box, bro.
If a God can be a human, why can't he be
You can't.
in spirit?
Well, you're talking about putting God in a box?
In spirit, like His presence,
If
like
God
God
can
His
be
put
a-
himself
whatever.
into a human form,
Man, but he can't be in a box.
then what's so
apparently.
crazy about putting him in a box?
Yeah, putting God in a box. You get that from that passage. I think that's very weak.
Box. It's a holy place.
Well, the Ark of the Covenant was not just a holy place, bro. It was actually made out of material.
Right. It's a
Oh,
special.
God,
Just a holy place.
I'm shitting gold bricks all over the place.
All right, guys. Well, I guess this was fun. You guys aren't being serious, so I'll talk to you later.
Oh, yes. I'm saying God is in the presence of the Ark of the Covenant, and he's saying it's a fucking ancient power source. He's totally right, because that's what the Bible says.
I get really, really angry when people just completely fuck history in the ass like he just did.
Yeah, no, let's see, what they had in Ark was a zero-point module that they stole from Apophis.
Oh, yeah, that.
God! Ah!
Okay, John K. had the funniest statement ever. I think our king gets his theology from Raiders of the Lost Ark.
I'm sorry.
I was thinking Indiana Jones by the end of this. It's just like, jeez, has he got a whip and a funny fedora? What's going on?
I'm sorry. I'm trying not to laugh.
I didn't want to laugh at Arcane.
I can't handle it. I'm done.
I love the fact that there are people like him in the world.
Yeah,
I love it.
I'm glad that this is recorded. I want to get high and watch it again. That'd be awesome.
Oh, I want somebody mark what part of this.
I've gone completely mad.
Hey, Clayton. Oh, sorry, good.
I am just going to take this part of the video and post it. It was hilarious.
Epi, give me a copy. I'm going to use this video as my secret weapon when me and Clayton are going to be playing Rome 2 Total War. I'm gonna stream it and make them fucking go nuts.
The Seleucid Empire has the Ark of the Covenant somewhere, so I'll be coming after you. I just have to ask Arcane where the fuck it is.
It's supposedly held in one of the Ethiopian Coptic churches.
First place I'm going then.
Fuck, I'm gonna beat you to it. I want the 0-point module. Fuck you.
You're on the fucking Italian peninsula. I'm near Anatolia. I'll get to Ethiopia before you do.
Oh, damn it. Right.
God, I'm so completely lost.
This is the most fun I got out of Arcane ever. This so beats the birds fart when they fly myth.
God, he is like the best fucking person ever. He's a 9/11 truther. He believes in an ancient civilization with using the Ark of the Covenant as a power source inside of a sarcophagus inside of the Pyramid of Giza. Powering what? I don't know, but God things.
Yeah.
Oh God.
And then he's a young Earth creationist to boot. It's fucking fantastic. I hate
okay,
him.
I can. You know what? I could understand. No, I could understand young Earth creationism. If you read the Bible in the most literalist of fashion, yeah, you're going to come away as a young Earth creationist. No point of argument there. I could see how you get to young Earth creationism. I don't see how you fucking get to the Ark is a secret ancient power source that runs the ancient pyramids of Giza.
He gets that from an empty room in a sarcophagus.
Yes,
that's how he got there.
That's
an empty
how he
room
got there.
and a sarcophagus with a hole in it. Must be the obvious conclusion here is that this was the power source for an ancient global civilization. Fuck!
Holy shit.
I gave him the passage. It says I might dwell in their mists.
God wanted a getaway house. So he had them build the Ark of the Covenant. I don't know. The idea that Moses stole the Ark of the Covenant from Ramesses has also got my head spinning.
Well, guys,
how did he get into the Pyramid of Giza? Is that one of the things he did with the flaming hail, or what? Like, what the hell happened? And why is that omitted from the record?
God, Arcane. I don't believe Arcane is a troll. I honestly don't. I think he believes what he believes. But
which is even funny.
I don't know how he gets there.
Yeah, I just would like to reiterate that like none of this is biblical. Like the idea of the
none of it is.
Anyone out there listening, like don't walk away from this thinking that what Arcane was saying is somehow in any way representative of Christianity.
Or is even related to Christianity in the first place.
Yeah.
It doesn't match up.
Okay. Just as a disclaimer for
admittedly
very small
your disclaimer is happily accepted.
Yeah. Guys, you know what? You're gonna be surprised, but I think I can top what Arcane just said with another Earth creationist, Pillbox. Do you know what he said about the ancient...
Another gold mine.
Yeah. You know what he said about the ancient pyramids?
What?
There's no topping that.
Yeah, there is.
What did he say? What? I don't know how you can top ancient power source.
Yes, I know that.
The Ark of the Covenant.
Okay. They were casinos.
That's actually more plausible than them being some sort of mystical power source.
More plausible.
I can accept that over.
I could totally see people like I don't know gathering around some big monument and playing a game of dice. That's
complete with slot machines.
Oh God!
Well, I don't know. I would no. I disagree. I mean,
oh God!
He was comparing. No, wait. You have to realize the context. Okay, he was comparing them to Las Vegas, basically. Like it's the it's strippers, whores, and slot machines.
I'm not going to disagree that.
No. He literally meant slot machines, like modern. He's the same view as arcade.
Well, I don't think Pillbox is like actually a serious like.
No, he was saying that was serious, really.
Maybe.
I think Pillbox is pretty serious.
Yeah.
Hey, Jesus, are you there?
Yeah. Jesus, yes. Fucking hell. Can you straighten us out? Was God in the ark or not?
Please.
Well, I mean, like one could, Reuben. Hey, Reuben.
Reuben, you missed the best thing.
Jesus never answers when I ask for him. It's really, really.
Reuben,
yeah, that's the story of my life, Clayton. That's what I'm an atheist.
Reuben, you missed the best thing ever. Arcane believes, and this I'm serious. He believes that the ancient Ark of the Covenant was an old power source that was used to power the Great Pyramids. And
it was used to power this ancient global civilization for which all the evidence in the world is the Pyramid of Giza.
Yeah, exactly.
And the reason is the way he's come to this is that making the Pyramid of Giza would be really hard, and there's an empty room with a sarcophagus in it that you could probably fit the Ark of the Covenant in. I don't know if it's with sticks or without sticks, but
yeah.
Whatever.
I was also the first to remind him that and the Ark of the Covenant was the presence of God, and he was like, no, the Bible doesn't say that. And I gave a verse where the Bible says it, and he's like, no, man, that's ridiculous. You can't fit God into a box. And I'm like, are you trying to are you honestly trying to read around that verse, really? And after the shit you give everyone else?
I can't see what Reuben's saying, so.
Oh, he's not. Oh, yeah, okay.
Hey, somebody needs to read what Jordan just said.
Yeah, I know about this claim. There is some kind of correlation. Well, you can guys read.
I just posted the link. I'd heard what he had said before about there being them being the same size, and that was noticed. And
By the way,
that's not a novel idea, or the fact that they had the Baghdad batteries, so to speak. What he was saying isn't new. It's not like only Arcane that thinks this. He's piecing together things that have been presented by other people, and they're just kind of putting pieces of the puzzle together to say perhaps maybe it's an idea.
He wasn't saying perhaps.
He was not saying it was an idea.
That, no.
Yeah, this was not a possibility in his mind. This was the gospel fucking truth.
Yeah.
So
I wouldn't go that far, but I am aware of the things that he was bringing out. I'd heard that before and seen it before.
Yeah, I did as well. Yeah, and by the way, Jordan, I'd just like to say, I'm sorry. Wait.
Of dumb things about the Pyramid of Giza. I've never seen that.
I just like to say for the record, I'm sorry. I didn't want to laugh, but you can understand, guys, why this is, from my perspective, just fucking hilarious. And
it absolutely is.
I don't. Yeah, I can't blame you.
I lost it. I was done.
Look, it may be new to you guys. Hey, look, it may be new to you guys. It's not new. It's not new generally. It may be new to some of you guys, but I'm just saying this is not a new thing. Some of these things that he's brought out have been known for a while.
Well, known is a strong word here.
Okay, what are the measurements of? So what? Oh, can you provide me a link or a source of the measurements you were just telling me?
I put the link.
You'd have to find this. I would want to find the measurements of that sarcophagus from another source that's not trying to put all these puzzle pieces together. Because the method of excavating the Pyramid of Giza was a really strange process, and it was also a really long time ago. And they destroyed a lot of shit when they did that.
Right. And by the way, hello Arcane, welcome back. Sorry, dude. We really didn't mean it, but you, like I said, you understand that from our perspective, it's just fucking hilarious.
I meant it.
And by hilarious, we mean novel. So fucking novel.
I hope you can forgive the sinners. After Orville fallen creation.
Contrary to a global flood is
Arcane, you're really low. Your volume is really low.
Yeah, can you hear me?
It's still very okay.
Yeah, it's still really low.
Can you say something? I think it was better. The last thing that you said was a little bit louder.
Can you hear me now? Can you?
Yeah,
Hear
it's
me?
okay now.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah. See, I don't think it's fair though to just laugh at me because I believe something, you know, and I have reason to believe it. Just because you disagree with it, I mean, that's stupid. For one,
It's
that
not
there's
just because I
nothing-
disagree with
Hold
it.
on,
It's
bruh,
just the
bruh,
sheer
bruh.
level of ridiculousness.
Yeah, bruh. See, those kind of lashing out, you know, you don't even let me finish a sentence and you pop in, oh, because it's ridiculous and it's hilarious. Ha 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 ha. That
It
does
is.
nothing. That does nothing for a conversation. That does nothing for the progression of knowledge. And what if we did that scientifically, everybody had a new idea or a new theory? If we just said it's ridiculous because we believe what we believe,
Well,
we would never
Arcane-
progress in science to begin with.
Arcane,
you guys are
I
doing is in
absolutely-
fact counterproductive.
It's a really bad example.
I absolutely agree, Arcane, but you should go back and watch some, great, Brett Keane hangouts and J-Dubs. They do this shit to evolutionists all the time. Like,
And I don't think that does anything for science or knowledge at all.
Good. I'm glad that you agree, and I will expect you to maybe, point out this to them in private, perhaps. Because, yeah.
Oh,
It's
I
one
do.
thing-
I
okay.
encourage a discussion on both sides, no matter how ridiculous it may sound to you. Because let's face it,
Okay,
before I became
alright.
a Christian, it was ridiculous to me. Everything that you guys are saying, I agreed with,
I
and now I
understand.
have a different stance. So, if
Your idealist
everybody back in
position
the
is
day,
noted. I still disagree with it.
well, if everybody back in the day thought that people were ridiculous for denying a flat Earth, we'd still be in that paradigm. So,
Well, no, the difference
come on,
is
guys.
that we have good evidence and reasons for believing that flat Earth is bullshit.
Yeah, but they didn't at the time.
Yeah, but so they were
How did they
justified.
progress? So
Alright,
people
There is,
actually
there
question
is a
it.
mountain of evidence that should be there for an ancient global civilization. It simply isn't. So when
Well,
you're
it is
claiming
there.
that and you don't have anything, it's just really, really funny.
You can repeat over and over that I don't have any evidence, but the more I keep presenting it to you and the more you keep rejecting it, proves that you have a personal, emotional disposition against it being true.
You have a hole in the Pyramid of Giza, which has measurements that may or may not be similar to the Ark of the Covenant, and from there you are then deducing that this was a power plant for an ancient civilization that covered the entire world that was destroyed by the flood.
Sorry.
That's
No matter how
ridiculous.
much you want to straw man my argument or try to dumb it down to
Oh, that was
make it
what
seem
you
stupid,
said.
I didn't even get to finish giving the evidence. I was just pointing out something that makes sense in light of what we know. So you want to
Okay,
take what I
alright.
said, which was just a small fraction of the evidence that suggests it's a power plant, just one thing I said, and you're saying that based on that alone, I deduced that it was a power plant. You're being disingenuous.
If you want to have more, if you want to continue your comedy routine, go ahead.
Okay, so can we discuss the biblical verse I pointed out where it says God's presence is within the Ark of the Covenant? I don't think God would be cool with the civilization using.
Well, I don't think it directly says that God is in the Ark of the Covenant. Sure, His presence is there because He's omnipresent. Do you not see that? I mean, God's presence is in everything. So just to say that it was God that they were carrying around in a box, I don't think you can get that from Scripture. I think what was in that ark was actually some kind of power source of some kind because it says that they were carrying it in a battle and using it to defeat enemies. And
Isn't the contents described?
Yeah.
Shards
So
of the Ten Commandments and a burnt heifer and.
right, none of those
other
things are
things.
God. That would be idol worship if that were the case.
So okay, but all right. Here's what I think you're missing. It specifically said God's presence was in there. If you're saying God's presence, if you're saying the Bible only mentions that because His presence is everywhere, that would make that verse meaningless.
Right, but I don't get the correlation between them saying I will give you, or the Bible saying that God will give him a place where His Spirit can dwell, and that meaning that all that was contained within the Ark of the Covenant was God. Is it possible that they had some kind of power source that was inside of the ark?
Are you saying God would be totally cool with being used as a power source alongside the power source.
See, that's what I'm saying. Are you saying that verse implies that there was nothing else in that ark?
No, of course it could. There are other things.
Right. So I think that based on what we know, and it fits the Giza power plant theory to a T, and that it would also explain why Pharaoh went after Moses.
But the Bible doesn't say that. It doesn't say that it was a power source.
No, you're right. But I'm saying that based on what we know aside from Scripture. What we can deduce from Scripture is the dimensions of the ark and some of its contents. But I don't think that you can get from that to that it was just God in there, and that's what they were carrying around.
No.
Can I rain on y'all's parade for a moment?
No.
Day 13.
In accordance with Judaic lore, I thought the Ark of the Covenant was supposed to hold the original tablets of the Ten Commandments.
Right.
That's what it's supposed to do.
Right.
It's also got a sacrifice in it.
But let's think about
none of those are power sources.
What was it made of? It was encased in gold, was it not?
Plated gold, probably.
Right.
Is there a description of it being built?
Well, gold is an excellent insulator of energy, is it not?
What? Energy? That's kind of vague. I mean, what energy?
I think that you're making assumptions that are not scriptural.
I think that you can encase an electromagnetic power source inside the object. I think, and if you look at the pyramid, if you look at the Great Pyramid, the outer layers that came off the casings were had gold in it. So
gold is a good conductor.
The pyramid was in fact a power plant. That would make perfect sense.
But no, I mean it would also make perfect sense in the ancient world, or any world, because gold is a precious metal. People like it.
It's also a useful resource.
Yeah,
it's not just
but so is copper.
Wouldn't it make sense if it's going to be used as a power source and you have gold on the outside, that you would have some way to get the energy to that gold, which means you would have to have some kind of wiring going to this empty room?
How is gold actually a useful resource?
If you look at the
gold is an excellent
Giza power plant theory, there's actually an aquifer underneath the ground, and water could have been used to generate some kind of energy, funneled it up into.
I thought the Ark of the Covenant was doing that.
Well, if you'd listen, pay attention.
Yeah, and I thought it would be wouldn't be a much simpler explanation to just say the Ark was a gold box that people held holy, and God's presence and the context that were mentioned in the Bible were in there. I mean, that does seem to be the common sense interpretation. Nowhere in the Bible.
Put Occam's razor back in your pocket, Epi.
That doesn't give you any warrant or ground to dismiss the.
No. I'm asking you to prove it. You're proving it to us.
Well, I could
tell me where in the Bible does it say it was a power plant?
Well, dude, first of all, the Great Pyramid at Giza wasn't even mentioned. So let's stick on topic here. Let's not bounce around and
that goes against your theory.
No, it doesn't at all, Epi. That doesn't follow because it's not mentioned in the Bible. It doesn't exist.
No, I'm saying
it doesn't help.
It doesn't help your case. Is all I'm saying.
In the Bible,
if it was used as a power source, it would be mentioned in the Bible. It would be more likely to be mentioned in the Bible.
Okay, it does say that the Ark of the Covenant contains some kind of power. It doesn't say specifically what from. Well, no, because you can't say that these people were carrying around a box and defeating their enemies with God.
It's scripture time. Some of you need to provide some scripture.
And the fact that you're in here with a bunch of atheists trying to say what's true or not about the Bible.
Wait. Hey. John K. Christian, Jordan Christian, Jesus Christian, Ray Christian.
Well,
there's a ton of Christians in here, but I'm asking
here are the fundamentalist people who are against the validity of Scripture and against the global flood in the first place.
I'm saying if you're going to claim Scripture, then show me the Scripture.
You're going to be critical about this. You can't just chime in and say, well, I don't believe you because I don't believe the Bible first. Of course, if you're not going to believe the Bible, you're not going to believe anything else that suggests that the Bible is true. So
I accept the Bible as evidence. My thing is that there's no biblical evidence for what you're talking about as the Ark of the Covenant being a power source.
Well, I think there is.
If you wish to provide scriptural evidence, then I'm all ears. Go for it.
I just did. I said there's clear
I must have missed it. Did he do that?
That say that they carried this thing into battle with them, and that it was like a radiation type of source or something, because people would look at it and they would.
Right, no.
they
It doesn't
couldn't
say
look at it.
radiation in the Bible. It does not use the
No,
word
no,
radiation.
bro. Follow what I'm saying. Quit trying to
Say
nitpick
it's
every little
radiant.
detail that I say and try to follow me, bro. Follow me, bro.
At
Listen
the-
to what I'm saying, bro.
The object inside the ark being radioactive has been stipulated based upon the effect of the one person who touched it.
Thank you.
Okay, that it was rendered holy because God's presence was in there. That's why it did that. That's the explanation the Bible gives.
So God is producing radioactive activity, supposedly.
Yeah, it's so holy to demand. No, God's presence is such a holy thing. For anyone to directly come into contact with it, it directly has impugned upon himself death.
Oh, come on. Next.
No, okay.
We'd have to figure out whether or not the bearers died of cancer.
Okay,
Yeah, there's a reason why the high priest was only allowed in the holies of holy once a year.
Well, Epi, if I may, if you'll allow me for a moment,
Go
thing
ahead.
in terms of people going back post hoc and saying, okay, well, when the person touched it and they died, maybe it's because it was radioactive and this and that. These kind of arguments are put forward by people that are normally, taking the biblical accounts to be historically accurate, but trying to present them in a way in which it takes away from the possibility of it being God having caused that and tries to give it more naturalistic causes.
Which is what Arcane is doing?
Which doesn't in any way negate the fact that it could be a spiritual place that God has sanctioned to be holy or whatever. That doesn't negate the fact that it could in fact still carry this so-called energy producing object.
No, that's not my argument. My argument is that holies of
are you saying it's just a coincidence that the
No.
dimension
my argument.
I had a question I'm going to ask you. Okay, let me finish. Okay, are you saying that it is a coincidence that the dimensions of the Ark of the Covenant directly match the dimensions given of the the sarcophagus box in the King's Chamber? Are you saying that's just a coincidence?
Have you been playing Assassin's Creed?
So two things. The first thing is my argument. The two things. My first thing is, since God's presence in the Ark of the Covenant is fully enough to justify all the stuff that you're citing for your piece of evidence, Occam's razor suggests that we cut out the power plant stuff and just stick to that. The explicit stuff. Second of all, I would have to see proof for your kind of dimensions correlating stuff.
I'm wondering.
That's been going for a while now. I mean, come on. People have. You can go to any Great Pyramid of Giza research website and see the dimensions, and then go to the Bible, read the dimensions given for the Ark. So,
I'm sorry, Arcane, if you would please, what are the dimensions of that chamber?
I'm not exactly sure, but I know they fit.
I have the dimensions of the Ark right in front of me. If you can get me the dimensions for the chamber in Giza, I'd love to compare the two.
Yeah, I don't support this theory, but
yeah, a lot of
Jesus,
people
since
when you look at it,
Arcane, just before, sorry, we need moderation here, Jesus. Are you gonna be sticking around, or can you give mod rights to someone who you trust? I
can hand them over.
Okay, I would suggest Jordan.
Yeah.
Jordan is a very nice lady.
I would also say Jordan as well. She has my support.
Yeah, and Ruben.
I should be around for the remainder of it, guys, but I just had to step out. I have a newborn baby, so I have to be dad.
Oh, congratulations.
Go be dad.
Congratulations.
Congrats, man.
But
are we going by? We're going by the inner dimensions, correct?
Well,
Yeah,
yeah,
the covenant would have to fit inside of, and he's talking about the sarcophagus inside of the chamber.
well, the supposed sarcophagus.
Are you talking the size of the sarcophagus or the size of the chamber? I've got the chamber.
He's talking about the sarcophagus.
The supposed sarcophagus inside of the King's Chamber.
Let me see if I
That
can.
link I posted gives you both the outer dimensions and the inner dimensions, and a drawing and so forth.
Thank you. You see, as I said, a nice lady.
Awesome. Yeah, so if the dimensions fit, and if there was some kind of high power source within the Ark, and that Ark could fit within that so-called sarcophagus, given the dimensions of the pyramid, given the aquifer underneath it, and the gold casing, and the way that it was built with granite.
I have both dimensions right here It's showing the dimensions of the coffer here as roughly 78 inches by 27 inches, a little bit less on both, and by 34 inches. And I'm showing the dimensions of the Ark of the Covenant as 52 by 31 by 31.
Well, you have to change the system of measurement.
No, this is both inches. I'm showing 77 by 26 by 34 versus 52 by 31 by 31.
That doesn't fit.
Where do you get that from?
It's too tall.
I'm actually not. Obviously, I'm not going to the exact same site here to get the dimensions of the Ark because that's got a bias. I'm actually going through two different wikis here.
Two different wikis?
I'm checking via wikis, yeah, because it's 2.5 cubits by 1.5 and 1.5. And based upon the size of a cubit, you end up with 52, 31, 31, roughly.
Well, how do you know what size of the cubit they were using back then?
It depends on whose cubit, but you'd have to go with what the average arm length was.
That's going to vary from person to person. That's going to vary, but a cubit is.
But not really by much. It's going to be a few inches. It's not going to be 10 inches.
Perhaps. Maybe people were taller back then, bigger. We don't know.
Right.
They were actually smaller back then.
We actually have a pretty good idea.
No, I doubt that they were smaller.
No, they actually if you go and look at the sizes
Skeletons, people were smaller.
Were smaller.
They had poorer nutrition in general. We're actually really tall compared to like all the humans in history.
There were.
But you guys, there's no record. There's no record of that civilization. Exactly. There's no record of the civilization that built the Great Pyramid. What you're doing is you're taking the record of the people who came after.
They left remains. They left mummies, etc. We have.
No, they didn't. There's no mummy that was ever found from that civilization at all. There's no mummy found in the pyramid itself. Nothing was. They had to.
That's obviously evidence for the civilization.
Actually, those tombs weren't. What we do have is history that those tombs weren't completed in the time of those particular pharaohs.
But there's no evidence that they were tombs.
That they ended up having to bury them differently. This is why we have the Valley of the Kings.
No. There's no evidence to support that whatsoever. There's no record of who built the Great Pyramid. That's what I'm telling you. If there's no record of who built it, you for darn sure can't sit there and say that you knew the length of their cubit.
We actually do know what the length of a cubit is from history.
Not that. You're sitting here saying that those people were smaller, but you have no record of who those people were.
Egyptians?
Why did drink system?
That begs the question.
So frustrating. Get your cubits together,
let's just assume that people were taller back then. How do we know we're not just dealing with the midget pharaoh? That could be possible.
Midget pharaoh?
Yeah, why not? He could be super small.
Well, what does the Bible say about giants?
The issue is whether or not the measurement of the cubits matches up with this chamber. So you'd have to actually have a smaller cubit in order for this to work.
I got a question. Are you saying that the Bible doesn't say that there were giants on the earth in those days?
Yeah, it doesn't say that there were only giants on the earth.
Wait. No, it doesn't, technically speaking. There were giants prior to the flood.
Right, that's what I'm talking about.
The flood was wiped out that. Now, in terms of Egypt and Pharaoh and all that, that was significantly later. That would have been after the flood.
Bro, try to keep up, okay? We're talking about something specific, all right? The Great Pyramid, I'm saying, was built pre-flood. That's what I'm saying.
There's a huge conspiracy theory that you've missed out on.
Dude, listen, okay, just so 13 is up to speed on what the heck you're talking about. The claim was, what is the evidence, or the question was, what is the evidence indicating a global flood? And I'm saying an ancient civilization that we have no direct record of that built the pyramid. There's no one who wrote down who was responsible for the Great Pyramid, and Egyptologists will concur with that. So what I'm saying is the Great Pyramid was built pre-flood. After the flood, the Egyptians inhabited the land and then tried to replicate that. So the elongated skulls, for example.
So the flood happened after the year. So just curious. So the pyramids were built at some. So the flood
differ on this point.
Rather, the flood happened sometime after 2560 BC. Is that what you're indicating?
No, there's no way to tell that. I'm just saying.
So
that
did Arcane? Did the Jews help them build them? So you don't believe the Jews helped them build the pyramids then?
Not the Great Pyramid.
Some other culture.
Not the Great Pyramid of Giza. I'm talking about a specific pyramid. I think the one after.
The one in the middle. It's up. You see that the iconic picture of 3 pyramids outside of Cairo. Somehow the one in the middle.
The Great Pyramid of Giza sits on the center of all the land.
The dating of the Great Pyramid of Giza was 2480 BC. It was built for King Khufu.
So you can date stone, and there's no record of King Khufu building it.
Well, he didn't build it personally, obviously, but yeah, there's
no record of him even doing that.
Being built.
No, there's not. Whoever
he did it all by himself.
There's no record of anyone who built it. There's not a single hieroglyphic found within the pyramid or anything referencing the building. Don't you think that the biggest building, to this day, 13, it is the biggest building by volume on the planet? And you're telling me that no one put their name on it. Out of all the stuff that the Egyptians did, they made record of it, how they had sex, how they went to the bathroom, how they brushed their teeth. But you're telling me the biggest engineering feat in their history, they didn't even put, oh, by the way, we did that too? No. Nowhere.
Yeah, the mosaics in the pyramid, I think, are supposed to represent and revolve around the life of the pharaoh, not necessarily the engineers and the people who built the pyramid.
But there's nothing even referring to who built it, when, or why they built it. Nowhere. You have a record of people building smaller structures that are no way compared to the Great Pyramid.
I think there is an inscription somewhere in the king's chamber, if I recall correctly.
Yeah, there is.
What it is.
Okay, if I may for a moment. The earliest known Egyptian pyramids are the earliest among the pyramids was a pyramid of Djoser. I'm probably butchering this. Constructed on 2611 BC to 2611 BC, circa that area. It was built during the Third Dynasty. The pyramid is surrounded by a complex.
According to who?
Complex were designed by an architect called Imhotep, and are generally considered to be the world's oldest monumental structures constructed.
According to who? Who's giving us information?
Wait, let's.
Okay,
let
here's the thing.
See, like, this is only Arcane's position. I mean, a lot of us Christians don't hold to this perspective.
Oh, no, don't worry. I am not.
And I realize that.
My criticism towards Christians on this. Please do not think
okay, cool.
Yeah. Well, my question is this.
Sure.
Okay, 13, you're reading probably some kind of wiki site or something like that. But the fact is, Egyptologists and archaeologists, they can't date that pyramid. All they can say is, well, based on what we know, we assume this and this and this, based on what we find in the ground, basically. But the evidence suggests, okay, you're talking about a time when they had copper chisels, hemp ropes, and stone mallets, okay, and we've got engineers.
Yeah, but they were super smart, so they probably could have used those.
They also practicality says otherwise, and so does Occam's razor. Since you want to pull that one up.
Actually,
all right, but also that. Yeah, but that would also suggest that their super advanced tools would be around. Or actually, on your theory, that would suggest that their super advanced tools were destroyed, but those cheap tools like the hemp and chisels, those things can definitely survive.
Because that was after the flood. The chisels and the hammers and stuff that they were using were post-flood. Everything else was pre-flood.
But Arcane, the dinosaurs are pre-flood, and we still have those fossils.
Yeah, they fossilized.
We have no evidence of any tool that would have also been made of some kind of metal.
It's in the rock, dude. There's evidence of machining in the rock. Okay, there are clear markings. Hold on, because people want to make these kind of claims like there's no evidence. Well, okay, there is evidence.
There's no tools.
Evidence.
We should be able to find
you don't
the
have
tools.
to have. Look, just because you see a painting doesn't mean you have to have the painter to verify that it is a freaking painting. Okay.
No,
the
I'm saying
implications
that if you have an
of
entire
what is designed.
The idea of a hammer or something like that from this ancient civilization. We should be able to find those.
Okay, for one, if that's the case, if that is the case, then where are all the bodies? Where are all the bodies of the people who built all of these structures around the world? So you've got mummies.
Global civilization. We should be able to find this stuff. Yeah. But you're providing evidence against yourself now.
No, I'm not. You're not even listening. We've got mummies across the globe that have elongated skulls, and they are found next to these buildings which have the same building style as the Great Pyramid. And guess what the pharaohs had? Elongated skulls. So that right there is evidence of a civilization lost.
The pharaohs didn't have elongated skulls.
No, they did not.
Really?
So Wait.
So
Head wrapping
I'm
is
kind
one
of.
thing.
I can't find one pharaoh mummified body that had an elongated skull. That's what you're telling me?
Fine.
Okay.
So
I'm interested in taking a
well,
look.
that's
I'm
your
not
claim.
aware of one that does.
That's your claim. I'll let people decide if that's true or not, because it's easily.
Incidentally, wait. I should note, however, in terms of the elongated skull thing, that if you go through the reign of the varied pharaohs, towards the very reign of the last dynasty, there had been so much inbreeding that the last pharaoh was considered to, based upon the bone structure and what have you, was suffering from massive genetic defects.
Okay, well, you can start that as an explanation.
I just want to point something out really quickly.
But the fact is this: there are elongated skulls, mummified bodies found all over the world that have elongated skulls next to these megalithic building sites with the same building style as the Great Pyramid, and I don't see how you can argue that away.
Wait, Arcane, I have a question for you.
It's not there.
You believe that there were pyramids built after the flood, correct?
Yeah, a few. Mm-hmm.
Okay, and you also do you believe that those pyramids were built using mallets and all the tools you were mentioning, the primitive ones?
Yeah, and that lines up with the building style of those pyramids. But we're talking about specific proportions of the Great Pyramid and the stonework, etc. Modern engineers and architects are saying that something more advanced had to have been used, whether they had knowledge of how to levitate the stones somehow using electromagnetism, or and also in Peru and Cusco, they would have had a way to melt the freaking stones and fit them in a specific way. Like they had a far advanced knowledge. So whether it was machines or some kind of, I don't know, kooky electromagnet.
It's
electromagnetic knowledge.
It's
something
really
was used to be a law.
That's where the elongated skulls actually was Peru. They used to have an ancient practice of cranial binding, skull binding.
Right, and I think that was used to represent the cultures before.
That's only Peru, though.
Not just in Peru, no.
Wait.
The same thing is in Africa. The same thing is in China.
He's talking about the
Paracas skulls. Bolivia. Yeah, the Paracas skulls.
The Paracas skulls were probably another species, and other skulls were probably head binding.
The cranial, when you examine the craniums of these skulls, they're not human.
Right, the Paracas skulls.
What?
They're not human. Like a human has 3 plates. A regular human skull has 3 plates. These just have 2.
Skulls have 2. Right.
Huge.
No, I know about
not only that, they have a larger head volume. So even when binding, you can't increase the head volume. All you can do is increase the structure of the head.
I'm with you on the Paracas skulls not being the result of head binding.
Oh, yeah.
The Paracas skulls are a really weird archaeological find.
I was
just so I could finish my point. Arcane, I think you're really being inconsistent here, because on one hand you're saying these futuristic tools disappeared with the Great Flood, but at the same time you're saying pyramids were built after the Great Flood and with primitive tools, but that kind of
right, but not of the same scale, Epi. Nothing is on the same scale as those buildings. Just like, for example,
but these experts you were referring to said there's no way they could have used those specific tools to build these pyramids.
Right, follow me, Epi. Okay, the Great Pyramid of Giza is in a completely different engineering scale than the smaller ones. Okay, so the smaller ones, they're saying, okay, yeah, I can see how they could have used hemp ropes and massive amount of manpower to erect them, but you have to recognize the difference in the engineering between these buildings. For example, the Sacsayhuaman wall in Peru. Okay, there's a clear difference between what the Incas made and they took credit for, and what the Incas didn't make and what they didn't take credit for. They said that this wall was already here. But the fact that they built the wall not at all close to the amount of accuracy that the one that came before was, shows that whoever built it before them had more knowledge than them. So the more primitive or the more ancient, the more massive the stones. The more ancient, the more precise the stones. The more ancient, the more vast you see these spread out. So
okay, I think I should have been more specific here. Do you believe that there were any more pyramids built in Egypt after the flood?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the Egyptians inhabited the land after the flood, after the Tower of Babel, and they saw what was there. They saw the remnants, and they probably still had some kind of oral tradition passed down of what was before. They had some kind of knowledge. But think about it. If we were wiped out today, if our humanity was wiped out today, and let's say 1,000 people survived, that, you know, we would be able to pass on some knowledge, but it would take us a long time to regain our level of technology and understanding that we have today. So I think that's what happened after the flood. The world was wiped out. Bow. Then people got off the ark, started passing on their traditions, and then people tried to rebuild based on what was there before. And it's interesting. If you look at a grid of where all of these places are placed on a map across the globe, they all line up between Cusco, Easter Island, even the Dogon lands in Africa. All of these places line up with one another. Even like some of the, like the Parthenon was built on top of a more ancient site that was there before. So,
You're saying that the Easter Island heads were built by an ancient civilization, global civilization?
I believe so, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, there's no record of who built that either.
I'm just trying to get a sense of which
Easter Island is like the. If you look at Easter Island, dude, it's like Easter Island is like the most remote and mysterious place on Earth, dude. Like, it's incredible.
Okay.
Incredible.
So just to get things clear,
it's not as remote.
There were so what's so special about the Pyramid of Giza over these other pyramids? Why?
Okay. First of all, it's built on 14
built by these ancient methods.
First of all,
and not the Great Pyramid.
Okay, here's some implications that you should consider. It's built on 14 square acres using 2.3 million blocks of different shapes and sizes of multi-tons. It's 8-sided instead of 4-sided. It's in the center of all the landmass in the world. And on top of that, it's more accurately due north than the White House. So the people who built the White House couldn't even get that as directly as due north as the Great Pyramid of Giza. On top of that, all of these other sites are lined up with the Great Pyramid on that grid that I was talking about. Furthermore, it incorporates the speed of light. It incorporates pi and phi, and only phi. I mean, pi and phi were specifically used in the building specifically because there's too many coincidences that have to be rational. How do I put that? You have to rationalize it in too many different fantastic coincidental ways to say that it was coincidence.
Yeah, but these are points of art. Wait, these are points of
considering, right?
These are points of
all of that,
not of engineering.
Yeah, that's sure, because whoever engineered it had to have known the speed of light. They would have had to have known pi. They would have had to have known phi. They would have had to know the square mileage of the Earth. And even, I think it was Pythagoras, I want to say, but even Pythagoras thought that based on the geometric scale of the Great Pyramid, that it was a physical representation of the Earth itself, based on the expressions of phi and pi within it. So,
okay,
knowledge of that.
Here's what you're kind of confusing. You're confusing the design of a thing, the formate, how people construct the general form of it, with the actual engineering. That is, how people build it, or how people gather the tools and the materials. You're saying that they needed these advanced tools to gather the material together. What I'm saying is these other pyramids had fairly similar materials used. Granted, they weren't. They weren't as well designed, but at least they would have required the same materials.
Well, sure. I mean, a cell phone and the space shuttle has similar materials, but you would have to agree with me, Epi, that the scale of the
that's that's apples and oranges. We're dealing with two pyramids. They're the same.
We're dealing with technology. We're dealing with a structure. So sure, I can build a smaller pyramid out of the same stuff, but that does not mean that I can build the same pyramid in the same way with the same level of accuracy.
But the main crux of your argument is on the materials, not the design.
No, it's not. It's on the design. No. Don't straw man me there at all. I agree that you can build different structures with the same material. But how you arrange the material, how the material was arranged, how it was placed, where it was placed, how much it weighed, etc., is significantly greater in the Great
I
Pyramid than the
don't
rest
think
of them.
stone. I don't think the density and weight of stone changes.
Dude, bigger stones were used in the Great Pyramid. For one, it's the biggest building by volume on the planet still to this day, and it's still plumb level after earthquakes and everything flattened every other building around it. If you look at it, and you look at the other pyramids, the other ones have eroded away, have fallen over, are complete junk compared to that Great Pyramid. So we're talking about a difference in scale of design, not just the components of its material makeup. Material is the same, but how it's arranged is different.
Yes,
You'd
that's
have to agree
exactly
with
what
my
I'm
point
saying.
there.
How it's arranged is different.
It's a much grander.
But they were
still, you
stepping
what I just said about the
stones
speed of
stacked on
light
top of
and
one another.
technology. How do you explain when the rest of the world in Europe was walking around with animal skins on their fannies? Okay, some civilization knew the speed of light. They knew pi and phi, knew how to express pi and phi through accurate building.
What civilization knew the speed of light?
Whoever built the Great Pyramid knew it for sure.
How do you suggest that?
Okay, but I already granted you all that, and I'm already granting you all that. What
I'm not granting him that.
I am.
Well, it's proven by physicists.
But
and
here's what I'm
engineers.
not. But here's where your argument isn't leading you. It's your argument should make a prediction that because they have advanced tools that are being used, we should expect to see them, and we should expect to even see them post-flood because there are similar structures being built requiring similar materials and similar transportation with more tools.
Yes, it does.
It doesn't
how do the
follow
structures? How do the structures survive and the tools don't?
Well, first of all, that's not a positive case against what I'm saying. For one,
actually it is.
Absolutely.
No, not even in the slightest. Because for one, you would assume that those tools were still around once the flood happened. Perhaps once they were done with
yes,
their
they're
building.
super advanced tools. I would definitely.
Okay, well, let's consider the possibilities and see how what you're saying does not prove anything. Because for
what
one,
was
let's
the
say,
population of this ancient civilization?
well, for one, that's a red herring and irrelevant to what I'm about to say.
It's absolutely relevant.
It's irrelevant to what I'm about to say. And for one, there's no way to know that. For two, it's irrelevant to the point that I was trying to address. I'm trying to address his point that if there were advanced tools used, that there would be some remnants of them. I think that there actually are some remnants of them. But aside from that, even if there wasn't, let me finish. Even if there wasn't, that doesn't follow that. It's a possibility at least. You'd have to at least acknowledge that they didn't keep. They did not keep. Excuse me. They did
I'm
not
not even
keep,
willing to grant that.
No, you didn't let me finish. But sure, okay, don't grant what I didn't even say.
So we have Egyptologists who literally.
I want you to at least acknowledge this point because it's very logically sound possibility that after they used whatever kind of tool that they used, that they didn't need it anymore, so they got rid of it or destroyed it or kept it from getting in other people's hands, whatever the case. It doesn't logically follow that because we don't see them directly, we can't infer that something like that was used. For example, there is clear evidence of machining, of machine cuts and contours on certain rocks that we know today.
Why would a global
based on
civilization-
engineering.
Hold on, wait. You're
remain
going on
undetected.
to a different point, and because I want to stop you somewhere.
Yes.
No, I'm making a valid point.
I'll be right back. I'll be right back.
My point was valid.
Why would a civilization destroy their tools in order to prevent them from getting out of the people's hands when the civilization is global?
Because, like Epi said, at that time, people were evil, drunken, full of debauchery. Let's say you created, I mean, think about it. Would you want your technology, like an atomic technology, a nuclear technology, getting in the hands of ISIS?
If I'm evil, I might.
What would you do?
Yeah, are you saying civilization?
What would you do to prevent that from happening? Let's say today we came to a treaty with all the other countries and said, you know what, we're going to abandon our nuclear program because we don't want anything bad to happen. That doesn't negate the fact that we did establish, based on that technology, we did establish certain things that we know came from that technology, even after the technology was destroyed.
Years later, archaeologists would still be able to find missiles.
You don't have a case, but what we do find is evidence of machining.
I just gave
That's
you
clear.
one, but
that's clear. So you can't dismiss that evidence just because
are you
don't
saying the
see
leaders of the civilization were righteous people that were trying to get rid of these tools to stop evil people from having them?
I'm saying that those possibilities, every possibility must be considered before you just dismiss it. Okay, especially the fact that we do see evidence of machine tools. Even if we don't see the machine tools themselves, the fact that we have evidence of them doesn't negate their existence. What are you guys talking about?
Had these people figured out how to build like great ocean liners, do you think?
Well, they were across the globe, so perhaps they had some form of
right. Yeah, that's what I figured. So, and if God told Noah in order to survive this to build an ark,
yep,
I think that more people would have survived.
This is starting to sound to me like Xenu and the whole thing with blowing everybody up.
It's very reminiscent of that.
Catching them in soul catchers and yeah.
Well, think about it. All of the myths and legends that we have today, I think, can be directly, they directly point to maybe a literal, something that literally happened, even if it was fabricated after the fact. So the legends about vampires, about Atlantis.
Oh God, this is reaching. All right,
no, it's not reaching. You're just not willing to go there. That's it.
No,
it's not reaching. You're just not willing to go there because
how the notion of Atlantis arose.
It hits you in a really uncomfortable spot deep in your gut. So you don't want to go there and even examine the possibility because it would tear your paradigm to shreds if proven true.
Okay, no.
No, that's not quite what's going on.
Oh, sure, you're going to deny that, but I'm saying that's possible.
I'm trying to entertain what you're saying now, and it's just
No, you're not. No, you're not. You're scoffing at every chance you get, bro.
Because you keep saying things that are ridiculous, but I'm trying to consider...
To a reprobate, they would be ridiculous, wouldn't they?
Oh, God, no,
wow. No. Okay, anyway,
yeah.
That ridiculous.
So you'd rather believe that fish can morph into humans, but I can't believe that there was a global ancient civilization? You're nuts. You're nuts.
I'm trying to figure out this ancient global civilization.
You're nuts.
Use God as a power source.
Yeah, the Ark of the Covenant specifically.
Yeah.
Can somebody clarify for me? Isn't there?
So let me get this straight. So we can carry an Ark of the Covenant into battle. We can carry an Ark of the Covenant into battle.
Somebody answer that question. Help me,
People
please.
can directly come in contact with the Ark of the Covenant, but it's preposterous for me to think that it was some kind of high energy power source.
Yes.
Yeah, you guys are logical today. The logic is on point here.
Arcane. It's not hard to be logical. Flying unicorns are logical. They make perfect, coherent sense. They don't exist, but they make coherent sense. Just to say something is logical, get us that far.
A flying unicorn could exist logically. It's just they don't.
Okay, so ancient global flood could exist logically, and we have evidence for it.
But it doesn't.
And there is no evidence. In fact, there's
no evidence. So I've given you no evidence whatsoever.
No.
Okay. All right. That's fine. I just posted a link, by the way, over there in the side chat with a bunch of archaeologists and engineers in real time giving scientific evidence. But no, there's no evidence.
And I posted a link a few minutes ago, 2 links technically, that were showing how the pyramids were actually built.
And this link that I just showed you goes over how that cannot be the case.
His link is better than your link.
Yeah, it is, actually.
Of course, because mine, they've actually done experiments to verify, and his, they have not.
Okay,
yeah,
here's what you would have to do. Here's what you would have to do.
Don't try and play that card, 13. That's just
this is what
cool.
you would have to do, 13, in order to prove me wrong. Okay, and this is very obvious, okay?
All the time.
Let's say you tell me that I can't make a basketball, right? I can't then just put together a couple pieces of rubber or pigskin and say, look, I put together a couple pieces of pigskin, therefore I can make a basketball. No. If I would have to make a basketball to prove you wrong. So unless you can build a Great Pyramid, you cannot sit here and say that because we can move some blocks around that we can make a 42-story high building out of heterogeneous, which means different sizes and shapes, stones of many tons on 14 square acres with the accuracy down to less than a millimeter after placing 2.3 million stones. You would have to do that in order to prove your theory. You can't just move blocks around and say, oh, well, this is how they must have did it, because there's no other option other than advanced civilization.
If you look at the article, it talks about the process used. It shows it references
how do they know?
In which they show people pouring water in front of it, which is what they had already figured out would have had to have happened. And lo and behold, there are hieroglyphs that support that, because you can actually reduce the amount of friction by putting water in front of the sled that they're actually carrying on it. They actually use
where's the evidence of this?
And
he's trying to tell you.
We see this in the hieroglyphs.
No, he's just giving me a bunch of what ifs.
I'm telling you, They have found hieroglyphics that show people working on building the pyramids, that show the process.
The pyramids or the Great Pyramid? There's a difference that we're talking about here. There's
It's the same process, dude.
It's a pyramid.
Okay, so here's the logic. Because we have evidence of them building these smaller pyramids, of how they did it, therefore, that's how they built the Great Pyramid. That's your logic?
Probably.
Most likely, yes.
Okay, well, that's the most ignorant form of logic I've ever heard in my life.
It actually does provide us with. It does mean we have to posit less extravagant ideas, such as a great ancient civilization filled with wise men who, at the same time, got drunk and did eat things.
That doesn't explain away at all. Any of the evidence that I've given you, contrary to them being able to move around smaller blocks of granite.
It also does show some of the ramps that they found by some of the incomplete pyramids that show the scaffolding, essentially, that they used to actually draw the stones up.
Great. So you have evidence of them building smaller ones. Therefore, you can logically leap to that's how they built the big
No, I said no. I said incomplete.
Right. Okay. I get you. They're incomplete. But that in no way directly relates to the great one. You would actually have to show how that method is substantial in creating something much grander in scale than the small ones that you're citing.
Well,
so
really,
just because they can build small ones with that method doesn't logically follow that they can build a big one with the same method.
The difference is the number of people pulling the stone, the size of the sled, as well as the amount of water poured before it to reduce the friction. And they actually have some of the math reference there in terms of how this can be determined.
No. Okay. So what you're saying is,
it's the same process.
All you're doing is going to increase the size of the sled and increase the amount of slaves, and there you go. You can build the Great Pyramid. Is that what you're saying?
As long as the math follows, yeah.
Actually, they didn't even have
gotcha.
The slaves didn't even build the pyramids.
Okay. In this link that I cited, there's a architect who built the Potsdamer Platz in Berlin, one of the greatest, one of the most beautiful skyscraper, one of the most complex buildings on Earth. And this guy is saying, even with all of our modern technology and all of our measuring devices at our disposal, we still would be in too much trouble in creating the Great Pyramid because of what is implied. None of the other pyramids, first of all, are 8-sided.
Didn't we already address this with saying
no, this hasn't been addressed.
Aren't historians, they aren't archaeologists, so they're not going to be able to comment on this effectively?
Archaeologists, right.
They are,
okay, gotcha.
Modern engineers are not
people who dig in the dirt,
people
who dig in the dirt are going to trump a modern engineer, sure, but whatever. Okay, gotcha.
Well, you're going to call archaeologists people who
gotcha,
dig in the
buddy.
dirt.
That's your
logic.
That's your logic. If that's your logic,
dig in the dirt, yeah.
What do archaeologists build, bro? What do they make?
Oh my God.
Right.
They're the ones who are examining everything.
Not a damn thing.
They don't make most familiar with the evidence. Engineers are not.
They don't
Why
make
don't we
nothing,
move
bro.
on points from here? I think this is a mute point. I mean, I think you got your viewpoint across, and everyone else has their opinion. But I think we should move on to something.
I'd just like to add, since we're kind of closing here regarding this point, yes, there is no reason for why would modern engineers learn methods that they would not use, right? On the other hand, archaeologists or historians or Egyptologists have good reasons to learn what people did in ancient times because that's what they fucking research.
If that's your logic, that is very sad. First of all, people who dig in the dirt, okay, who find things in the dirt, have no credibility whatsoever in determining how things are engineered and made. They might be able to find what they think was used, but they have no say-so in what goes into building skyscrapers.
There are historians
actually many
dirt,
are
not
trained
just,
in this.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's what the
But my
thing
point
is.
stands. I'll leave it there. You guys can disagree. That's fine.
No, they actually do go in. No, there are people who do specialize in engineering based around this kind of ancient stuff and architecture.
I think I saw a few of them on Nature or National Geographic about Rome. There was a historian who specialized in weapons and engineering, Roman engineering. So there we go.
For example, another piece of ancient technology that we have no idea how the hell it exists is that the Romans had concrete that could harden underwater. We don't know how they did that. We still haven't figured out that technology, but the Romans definitely had it.
I got a question for you. There?
Hey, Clayton. Sorry to interrupt, Jesus. I'm not saying it's aliens, but it's aliens.
Okay, cool. It's aliens.
Okay. It's aliens.
That's crazy. You'll choose aliens over God, bro.
I'm not. I'm kidding.
No, I'm not saying it's either, honestly.
It's just a common name.
Just ancient civilizations. Some of them figured out some aspects of technology that we haven't gotten a grasp on, and there's a lot more things that our civilization has gotten a grasp on that they couldn't even fathom. Some technology gets lost. It's happened multiple times in history. Underwater concrete and crossbows are good examples.
Yes, but not levitating.
Crossbows were lost for a long time. They were rediscovered later in Europe, but they popped up, disappeared, then popped up again. Technology does this a lot.
Although this is ancient technology, though, we're not talking like super advanced technology.
I'm just saying technology in general. Like it's totally possible that they had a method that we don't necessarily understand for doing something. But that doesn't seem to be the case with the Pyramid of Giza because of what 13 has provided. But technology just throughout history has disappeared and reappeared. The Dark Ages are another example of tons of technology disappearing and then having to be rediscovered.
Middle Ages. Sorry.
No one uses the term Dark Ages. Actually, people have tried.
Your mom uses the term Dark Ages.
Your mom's Dark Age.
Hey, so Epi, in Genesis 6:13, when it's talking about all living creatures must die, how could that be a local flood?
Good point.
Let's
no,
see.
you mean all living creatures locally then, right? I'm happy.
Yeah. I have to investigate the verse.
I guess all the ones in the world.
Cool, we'll pull it up.
The known world.
I'd love to hear it.
If all living creatures must die, did fish drown?
Here it is, verse 17. And behold, I myself am bringing flood waters on the earth to destroy from under heaven all flesh, in which is the breath of life. Everything that is on the earth shall die.
Okay, but alright, according to the New American...
Does that include fish?
Wait. According to the New American Standard Bible, it says, Then God said to Noah, The end of all flesh has come before me, for the earth is filled with violence because of them. And behold, I am about to destroy them with the earth.
You're cutting out.
So, there he's actually saying that the earth that he's going to destroy, he's going to destroy with it.
I didn't hear that, bro.
Oh, okay.
You're breaking up real bad, Epi.
Epi, fix your internet. Not fixing your internet, man. Yeah, it's still not coming in. Refresh.
It's all good. I just thought that was interesting because, I mean, the New King James Version, the NIV, all of it read pretty much the same except for the N.
Jesus.
What did you say?
That verse that you read,
Can you hear me?
The way that the verse you read reads, it seems like fish would also be destroyed because they're flesh on the earth.
They live in the sea, bro.
Yeah.
Oh, they're in the sea, but the sea is on Earth.
Okay, according to the New American...
Are they on the planet Earth or just land?
According to the Standard Bible, according to the New American Standard Bible, then God said to Noah, The end of all flesh has come before me, for the earth is filled with violence because of them, and behold, I am about to destroy them with the earth.
The earth. Right.
Yeah. So if the earth is referenced to... Yeah, if the earth is in reference to the known world, God is speaking about the known world as the author is interpreting it.
How do you assume that there wasn't a global civilization at that time when it says the whole earth?
Because usually in ancient writings, when people reference the whole earth, it was in reference to the earth that they knew or the land that they were aware of.
Well, what makes you think that is the same thing? I mean, what makes you believe...
It's referenced in various ancient sources, from Babylon to Persia to Greece That was how ancient writers did it.
Well, this predates those, don't they?
No, really, no.
So the pre-flood world doesn't predate.
If you look at the Hebrew, it's 3 verses, and I'll post them here. It says, all flesh to go and to come into destruction.
Yeah, but you have to read in context with the verse itself.
Fish are flesh.
Fish don't have the breath of life in them. They live in the water.
Yes, they do.
They live in the
Fish
water.
Are you saying fish are dead?
Fish are in the water.
Yes, so what?
Are they not made of flesh?
But we don't even believe in the Bible yet. You're trying to argue with us about biblical belief.
Right.
Oh, I'm trying to figure out what you mean, but like
that's why it's pointless.
I may not be a Christian, but I do have reading comprehension.
If I may, please. This is a little bit less about biblical belief and more about the stylistic writings within the Bible. There's a lot of segments in the Old Testament that are considered to be poetry or prose, etc. I mean, there's a lot of flowery language in there as well.
Well, where's the poetry in the dimensions of the ark? Is that poetic?
The dimensions of the ark, no.
Right.
Song, for example, that's poetry.
Well, the dimensions of the ark were clearly given, so you'd have to say if the whole flood account was just nothing
I'm
but
not going to get a chance to compliment the book, am I?
Oh, is that what you're doing?
No, yes, I was actually about to give a compliment to the book and say that this is part of why, even as an atheist, I appreciate much of the writings in that, is because there is so much beautiful poetry and prose and hyperbole, and a lot of the writing stylings of that has so much influence writing even through to the modern day. But if you don't want me to compliment the book, I won't.
Well, sure, but I think that even your compliment might undergird or might give a false impression as to what we're talking about, it being a literal flood. So I would say, you know, if you take the flood as a metaphor or a poet.
I'm not even saying whether the flood is literal or not. I'm not even going as far as to bother to step into that, because that's this massive can of worms that people always end up fighting over.
Well, that's what we're talking
about.
What
I'm saying is that, well, there's certainly exaggeration within a lot of the text. We know that to a degree. But if you go and you talk to, for example, scholars of the Old Testament, the actual Hebrew scholars, you know, the culture that the book came out of, they'll talk about the poetry and the prose and that much of it is tongue-in-cheek and this and that. And unfortunately, at times, I think that a lot of that is lost in some of the interpretations that have been passed on to Christianity. But speaking to some of the Jews about how they look at some of these sections and what have you, you end up with this image of this beautiful, beautiful text. And then you go and talk about the varied authors and what have you. And my favorite of those is Jay. There's actually a compilation of the writings of the author that is attributed to the Jay, the Yahwist. And it's referred to as the Book of Jay, and when they separated out all the stuff that's attributed to Jay, and it's very tongue-in-cheek, and it's very fun, and the read of it actually is really good, but that life and that fun just is taken out of it when you're just reading it as simple words and not really getting to the spirit behind them and the kind of the mindset of the author and how things were framed and this and that. It can actually be an enjoyable read.
Well, dig this. What if the Bible was meant to convey a specific, very literal message? I think just saying that we should just take it, you know, poetically here or there, you know, and not seriously considering the intention of the author as conveying a specific message, I think that would be detrimental to our understanding of it. So when we're talking about, for example, though, when I talk about if God really did flood the world, and he really did intend us to tell us why and how he did it, I think it would do a disservice to the text to not take it as that. So when people say things like, you know, like the flood was a metaphor, explain to me why God would give specific dimensions of an ark if it's a metaphor.
Okay, did I say specifically that was metaphor? I must ask that. Or did I say that I was stepping...
No, I didn't say you did. I'm just speaking in the context of what Epi
It could be a parable. And he would give
just of reference,
that's fine.
Just as a point of reference, I'm reading comparisons between different translations of the Bible and the verses. A lot of them seem to agree with each other. For example, the King James Version, and God said unto Noah, the end of all flesh is come before me, for the earth is filled with violence through them. And behold, I will destroy them with the earth. So, of course, that's the flesh that's pointed out is in relation to the earth being destroyed. And here, again, is the new internet. And again, the flesh here can refer to people, as it does in the New International Version. In the New Living Translation, it refers to creatures. Then the English Standard Version refers to all flesh. But then again, New American Standard Bible, the one I was quoting, is filled with violence because, and is, of course, that's also in proportion to the earth itself. Yeah, it's all relative to the earth mentioned.
Well, so why did he gather all the animals?
What do you mean?
2 of every kind. Did he say of that local area?
Technically, oh, sorry.
Go ahead, Path.
I would say, I'm just jumping in here. Like I've just been in here for maybe 2 minutes, but the argument between a global flood versus a local flood, all evidence for either cases will be conjecture, because the concept of it being a global or local flood is dependent on how you translate the word. Aretz. Aretz in Hebrew either means land, and it could also mean the planet Earth. So if it's talking about if he's gathering in the animals from the land, it could either be he's gathering in the land animals from the entirety of the globe, or he's gathering in the animals from the land that he's living in. So the concept of where the animals come from would be conjecture, depending on...
Yeah, and besides, I would also like to ask, if God is collecting 2 of every animal on the earth, why is he building such a small ark? I don't think it would be enough to take 2 of every animal.
Beyond that, the perspective of whoever is writing it, a flood that size would have been the whole world according to their perspective.
One other thing to keep in mind in terms of not how it's been translated, in terms of the original Hebrew language, is that in the writing there's, for example, no vowels and what have you, and a lot of the terms used are very open to interpretation. This way the text could, in some ways, be interpreted or actually mean different things to different people. This way it could speak, so to speak, to the heart of the person reading it, instead of simply being a bunch of words on a piece of paper, more of a living text in that regard. And in that way, I've always thought that the Hebrew was superior in trying to convey these messages.
My question would be, if the flood was local, wasn't the point of the rainbow to signify the covenant between God and his people, that he wouldn't flood the earth anymore? So if that's the case, there have been plenty of local floods since then. If the flood back then was local and God promised never to flood the world again, that would mean that he broke his promise, wouldn't it?
No, it wouldn't. All it would mean, no, he wouldn't. All that would mean is that what God promised was he would not wipe out an entire civilization with a flood. He never said it. He wouldn't let natural disasters take place.
No, he said it never flood the world again.
Doesn't God say in the Psalms that he
flood
makes
the world again? He himself. Are you saying that?
Okay, so we have. Sorry, I'm gonna have to interject, but we have to back up here. So if we're saying it's a local flood and we're taking that account and we're saying like, well, God said he'll never flood the world again, the person who's saying he'll never flood the world again also has to take from a local account. So the term world would have to be land, and we can categorically speak that the land that people who would say it's a localized flood is considering has never been flooded. So you can't use 2 different ideologies and put them in one worldview. It wouldn't work.
Well, I'm asking if the flood was just local, whichever area it happened to be in. There have been local floods since.
In that area.
In that area.
But God has not flooded himself. It's just a natural disaster. The flood was as a punishment. This is why I usually don't agree with pastors on the TV who say God sent this flood because of the homosexuals.
Right.
That's kind of the reason why.
So you get to pick and choose what. Well, either way, God's in control.
Yeah, at least I'm not picking the verses that. Yes, I'm not picking and choosing the verses. Well, at least I'm not saying.
It's the notion that basically shit happens sometimes in terms of natural disasters versus every disaster that happens, we must be God angry about something.
Well, if God
exactly,
to never
and it's
flood
not
the
picking
world
and
again,
choosing.
that
It's the way of
I
interpreting
think
the verse. I'm interpreting the verses in a way that's, well, commonsensical and not necessarily extravagance.
It also,
God would be very capable in preventing a flood. If he said, I promise to never flood the world again, if God's in control of this place, he's omnipresent, and he's in control, that means there shouldn't have been another flood, period. So, but the fact, if you consider,
I'm sorry, but
consider the fact that the world was, that the entire earth was flooded to the.
Are you saying that literally every time a flood happens, it's God doing it? God is literally, by that logic, God is literally responsible for every flood ever.
No, he's allowing it. Allowing is different.
Yes, allowing something to happen, and yes, God can permit a flood to happen.
Hang on, Path's been trying to talk. Please let him in.
The passage doesn't talk about floods in general. It talks about a very specific type of flood.
Exactly. One specifically made for judgment against people.
Right, and that's very different than saying all floods in general.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, there's a flood that's a product of judgment, and then there's a flood that's a product of sort of natural laws or whatever, right? They're not.
It's a definition between a natural occursion and a miracle. So like, it's a splitting of the Red Sea. We could say it's both. We could say the natural occursion in the sense that the splitting of the Red Sea could have occurred naturally, but the miracle was the fact that it occurred when it needed to occur. So how you define natural occursion and how you define miracles, it can get muddy, but you have to define these terms before you can start speaking about
it. Well, let's hypothetically say that it was a local flood, okay? Let's say, after that, the people were like, okay, we have this rainbow sign of the covenant that says that God will never flood the world again. But then here comes another flood. So you expect them to sit there and believe that after God promises there will never be another flood of this type, that another flood of this type comes, and they say, well, it's just natural. God had nothing to do with it. I think it's more rational, especially when you consider other verses like the world that then was being overflowed with water perished. You're talking about on a global scale, and then you have to consider evidence too. I mean, rule all of that out of the equation just because you want to believe it's a local flood.
Arcane. If you actually read about ancient people, they didn't believe that all actions were God's responsibilities. Look at the book of Job, for example.
That's not what I'm saying.
When Job was being punished, one of his friends was saying, "Hey, Job, maybe you thought that you're a sinner. That's why God's letting all this stuff happen to you." And God rebuked him for it. Of course, the writer of that story would actually have to be rather smart, and I would guess, in order not to blame God for every little bad thing that happens on sin.
Well, it says, in Genesis, I've set a rainbow in the clouds, and it will be the sign of the covenant between me and the earth. And you and every living creature that is in you for all the successive generations. I set my bow in the cloud, and it shall be a sign of the covenant between me and the earth. So I just don't see any reason to believe that it was local. I guess that's what I'm trying to say.
But I mean, again, if every time you say the word earth, it could also mean the word land. So I should preface, but I'm not arguing either point. I don't believe in a local or a global flood necessarily. But I mean, every position has its justifications based off that term. It could either be land, i.e. localized, or it could be earth, globalized. So every time you see that word, it can mean either or, and depends how you want to translate it. So if he sets a rainbow over that land, i.e. that rainbows only contain that area, like all rainbows are, it's not like a global kind of rainbow, then you could see how someone could argue that it's a localized flood because he's making the covenant with the people of that land, and that's the entirety of the Bible, whether you say it's the Tanakh, the Hebrew Bible, or the Christian Bible, the entirety of that narrative takes place in that exact same landmass.
Yeah, but I think,
also, he's making that covenant with Noah. There's actually a group of people called Noahites, or Noahim.
No.
To actually make a very similar promise that Noah made with God in terms of their own covenant. Of course, because the Bible is reliant on covenant theology, that covenant is replaced with another greater one. That is the covenant with Abraham, which is, of course, replaced with the Mosaic covenant, and later on is replaced with the covenant of Jesus Christ.
I would disagree. But, sorry.
You would disagree with what?
I would agree with the concept of the covenants being successions, they being replacements, which are not. They're very distinct in all themselves.
Okay. But still, either way you place it out can work.
Well, why did you tell Noah to stay in the boat for a year? That's another question that plagues me with this local flood thing. Why would he tell Noah to stay in the ark for a year if it was local?
I'm sorry?
Noah was in the ark almost a year.
Yeah, God was just kidding.
Okay, and?
Why would he tell him to stay?
Actually, he was there for 40 days and 40 nights.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
No, it said it rained for 40 days and 40 nights. It said that he was in there almost a year.
Well, the concept is that he was supposed to repopulate the land, so where else would he go?
Well, that skips my question, though. I mean, if it was just a local flood, what would be the need to stay in there an entire year? Do local floods last a year?
Well, because he didn't want him to go to some other land. He wanted him to repopulate that particular land after the waters had subsided.
Yeah, and speaking of the subsidation of the water, it said that the mountains arose and the valleys sank down and the waters assuaged. So you're talking about a local flood creating mountains.
Who said the flood created mountains?
Well,
it says the mountains arose, the valleys sank down, and the waters assuaged, which means that they ran off or ran away.
That's how in terms of poetic language, that's how it looks when water...
The mountains cover the waters cover the mountain, that's what it's saying.
But it says the mountains arose and the valleys sank down. It doesn't say that the waters just...
Give me the verse chapter.
So I think that would also explain the geology of the entire planet with that global flood theory. It explains so much in geology with that.
Could you give
the continental drift or the movement of the continents after the fountains of the deep bursted open? It explains the fault lines.
The problem with that, Arcane, is if you're kind of going towards Nephilim-free territory with that. And
What's
if
the
you
problem
actually
with Nephilim-free territory, let's stick to the facts.
If you'll hang on for a moment, and I will get to the point here. And what's been pointed out to him when he started talking about, this is how the mountains are formed and all this, if you do the math, the amount of friction involved in those land masses moving even underwater would boil off all of the water. So that's kind of scientifically problematic with physics.
Well, first of all, you're assuming what was the case back then based on what you think you see now, and it's
because the laws of physics were obviously different then.
No one's saying anything about the laws of physics, perhaps.
But I am.
Well, can I finish? Can I finish? Can I finish? Hello? Hey? Yeah. Okay.
Hello.
What you would have to do is go back in time and examine the Earth before the flood in order to determine what was the case. And it is known today that there's water beneath the Earth in subterranean water chambers. So what you're trying to say is that because of the laws of physics we see today, we can't imagine how it would happen, therefore it didn't happen.
Arcane, wait, please, I was quiet for a long time. Come on, guys.
Yeah, everybody jump on Arcane.
I just want to ask a basic question, Arcane. What chapter and verse are you talking about when you talk about the mountains?
Was it? I forget the exact chapter and the verse, but I remember it quite clearly.
No, that's fine. I just wanted to look it up, but everybody else.
Okay, so yeah, Arcane, you do know you do this all the time. Whenever you're presented with a tough claim, you revert to this, extreme arch skepticism position. Well, we don't know how laws of physics back then, and just a few hours ago, before that. You're assuming laws of physics and engineering, which is what engineering is based on laws of physics. Wait, you just said that we don't know how laws of physics.
That the laws of physics were different. All right, stop the nonsense.
You didn't? You said we don't know if there were.
You're assuming we don't know. What happened was I made a statement, and you're assuming based on the statement that that's what I mean. So if you pay attention, it's not.
Okay, so what are you saying?
change.
Okay, so
The
why
physics
does
never change? That's not Arcane's plan.
One second. Just for a point of brief reference for Path, it's Psalm 104. It's one of the poems. I posted it's 104.8. It's over. I posted it on the right for the reference.
Oh, yeah, but you can't use Psalms for this context. It's completely different. It's completely different.
Yeah, I agree.
You can't utilize the Psalms to justify the 5 books of Moses. They're like written in completely two different styles and purposes.
Yeah, they're
I'm speaking in terms of what we see. When you could say it's poetry, but there are other Psalms that aren't poetry that we can't take literally. So you can't just pick and choose when it's
the Psalms are poetry, dude. The Psalms are poetry.
Psalms are literally poetry. That's what the word means.
So you can't take any of that in any literal context. Is what you're trying to tell me?
No. You can if you want, but to say that's why they were written, their purpose is completely different.
Yeah, but I think it still is consistent with the flood account, and it also
it's deliberately flowery language, dude. It's poetry.
Because it's poetry, it's not literal now?
No. I'm saying...
Stop interrupting, please.
Do you believe that the sun rose today?
I'm saying... This is what I'm saying. Is the fact that the flood account in Genesis and what you're quoting in Psalm are written by two different people that's spanning at least 1,000-year period, and you can't say they have the exact same concept of what happened if we're talking about historical account.
Well,
just because they're contained in the same canon doesn't mean they have the same point of views or that they live in the same period of time.
What did Jesus say about Moses? He said, if you don't believe in Moses and the prophets, then you won't believe me, basically.
We do believe in Moses and the prophets. We're just interpreting them differently than you.
The question is what Moses and the prophets, were actually saying or getting at. Right?
If I can't use Jesus, who referenced Moses, or if I can't use the Psalms, which reference Genesis, then I can't use Jesus, who referenced Moses.
People are just making the much more humble point that the Bible is not this sort of perfectly uniform and self-exegeting text or something, right? Like that there are different books that require different method.
Like historically, never has been. So I don't know how I can use a sweeping concept.
Yeah, I am agreeing. I'm saying it's sort of an ahistorical view of the Bible. I don't know. That's just my take.
One thing I tend
I'm
to
not
get
making that claim at all that you can do that in every context, but I'm saying in the context of what we're speaking, when we're trying to discuss a global flood as opposed to a local flood, I think that the entirety of Scripture can be used.
One thing I tend to actually quarrel with my so to speak fellow atheists with is trying to use the Psalms as some kind of literal thing. For example, the Psalm in which you're talking about, killing everyone and cutting open the mother's bellies and all this kind of stuff. That's poetry. That's somebody that's really frustrated about what was done to them and saying, we shall do this kind of thing. It's not really God coming down and saying, oh, this is what I command you to do. Well, and a lot of people regard it as that way, but that's not really what it is. And if you take it that way, you're basically misrepresenting the spirit of the text and how it's written, and the fact that it is intended as poetry.
Well, as an atheist,
Happy is the one who bashes your infants against the head of the rock.
Well, as an atheist who actually uses these verses to, make a point to theists, I'm using them exactly because they believe it's literal. I have no problem if they're symbolic.
You're confusing theists with Christians. It's a very different concept.
Oh, I'm sorry. You're right. I should specify on that. I take that back. I rescind that comment and change my word. Thank you.
Oh, wasn't that addressed to me, by the way?
I was addressed to both because you're having a very particular concept of a certain kind of scriptures, and that's pretty much based off the concept of Christianity.
Well, no, I wasn't saying that theists believe this.
The Psalm says that God has feathers. I don't believe he has feathers.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is that atheists often try to represent Psalms as if they're meant to be taken literally, and
or that they're meant to be taken as divine will or divine revelation.
Question, what was the location of Noah when the flood began? What was his location? Do you know?
Not from the text, no.
We know where he landed, somewhere near the mountains of Ararat.
He was in the Levant. That's like we could say we could imagine he was in the Levant. So.
Right, and it says that the ark rested in the 7th month on the 7th day of the month upon the mountains of Ararat. That's a pretty long way from
wherever he wasn't specified.
Well, at the site that I think is the Ark site, there are Egyptian-style crosses on the stones there that were used as anchors. Not anchors, but damn, what's the word for those stones? They kept the boat from tipping over. Okay. Well, on these crosses, on these stones were Egyptian-style crosses, so perhaps it was somewhere in that region. But I think, yeah, I don't see any reason to say that, you know, you're in an ark for 7 months, you know, or the ark took 7 months and 7 days to even rest, and then he stayed in there for a while. He had to send out birds to search for land. I mean, if you're sending out birds to search for land to see if the land had appeared yet, I don't see how that could be local either. Why didn't the bird just keep going until he found land, which would be out of that region? Birds can fly pretty far.
Okay, well, first of all, we don't even, just because someone can say it's local doesn't necessarily imply they know how expansive it is. Plus, we also don't know about the strength of the bird after, you know, living 40 days on a boat.
He also didn't send out a turkey vulture. He sent out a dove and a raven. Very small birds in considering.
Yeah.
And I'm not arguing either side. I'm just saying I'm just playing devil's advocate to understand.
Yeah, that and birds can't fly for an infinite distance without landing on something.
Well, the water. Well, it says in Genesis 8:5, the waters decrease continually until the 10th month. You're talking about 10 months of water, and then it says in the 10th month, on the first day of the month, were the tops of the mountains seen.
So,
I have a question.
From what's established in the text, the flood is taking place over a valley. I would think it does take a while for that valley to kind of let the water out.
Like, theologically speaking, what difference would it make if the flood, like, were to be global or local? Like, I mean, like, that really... Honestly, that's for everyone, too. Like, that's not just for Arcane.
Well, they would go against a lot of what, well, you know, it would go against the geological evidence that we see in front of us.
Yeah, but theologically speaking, it wouldn't make a difference whether the flood was local, global.
Oh no, not really.
Yeah, I said theologically, not geologically.
Or if it was a parable in and of itself, it'd make no difference theologically. The message stays the same, and it should be reinforced the same.
Except for us as Christians, because literally God or whoever the writer of Hebrews was, through the power of the Holy Spirit, said that it was literally the world that was destroyed, and so I think we have to look at all the texts in the New Testament as well, where Jesus spoke.
I should have. Sorry.
It says, "So as it were in the days of Noah, so will it be in the coming of the days of Son of Man." Right?
I should have prefaced my statement from a Jewish perspective. It would make no difference whether it was global, localized, or it was a parable in itself. It would make no difference theologically from a Jewish perspective. But Christianity is outside of my knowledge, so I want to make that statement.
I would say it wouldn't be a heretical thing. It wouldn't affect your salvation, but I think it's definitely a different viewpoint with different Christians hold. I mean, obviously.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's even deeper than that, because if there was a global flood, then there goes evolution.
What?
No.
If there was a global flood, then your evolution, all the evidence supporting evolution would go bye-bye.
No, it wouldn't.
Yeah, it would. Okay, think about it. What do you use to date these so-called fossils? You use the geologic column. How did the geologic column get there? Well, if a global flood put it there, you have no evidence of evolution if that was the case. All the fossils would have been a result of the flood. All of the geologic strata would have been the result of the flood.
Let's just assume for a second that that's the case, where we would use all our strata and fossils and whatever. Let's just erase it right now. We would still have the DNA evidence.
No, well, we could argue that point too. But even aside from DNA evidence, you have nothing other than similarities. So all you could say is, well, we're similar genetically, but that doesn't prove evolution, no more than it proves a common designer. So without fossils, without a geologic timescale worth of billions of years, you don't have evolution.
I actually kind of agree with him here. If there was a global flood, then evolution is certainly different.
Well, there wouldn't be a geologic timescale by which to reference billions of years to.
Yep.
Right, you'd have to have a different way to explain all of it.
Right.
It's like once one pillar of science falls, and the rest of them kind of follow, because a lot of them are based on each other.
And I think this is why it's such an issue with people who believe in evolution. They cannot allow a global flood, even as a theist, like Epi. If there was a global flood, Epi, you'd have to admit that, you can't say, well, billions of years anymore. The Earth is billions of years anymore because global flood would wipe out that evidence. Everything that you would see would be in relation to that flood.
Yeah, and that's where this discussion first began, was why do we find fossils in mid-movement? Why do we find fossils in giving birth? Why do we find fossils with leaves still on them?
We really don't, only in we do in the case of like mudslides, and there's a few of like really, really well-preserved fossils are in places like bogs.
We don't
but
find
other than that, usually fossils that you find are partial skeletons or scattered all over the place.
Not at all. I can give you a link to a site of a fossil of a fish eating another fish. That means that fish was
right. Yeah, I'm not saying that
mid-swallow.
doesn't happen. I'm saying that the usual case is scattered bones.
Well, how do fossils usually form if not of rapid burial?
There's a number of ways they can form. I'm not really the person to go into on that, but I've had somebody, as a friend of mine that loves this kind of stuff,
Yeah,
that
there's
I
like
could
10 or
probably
12
bring in
different
here.
methods, yeah.
There's a bunch of different ways for it to happen.
We find whale fossils in the middle of desert now, and all kind of marine fossils on tops of mountains. So I think
The building is the desert now doesn't mean that it was always a desert.
That's
And
because
Antarctica-
that's arcane. This is what happens when you deny science. The world stops making sense. Yeah. If you accept plate tectonics, this makes perfect sense.
Well, plate tectonics is a result of the flood. Doesn't
Of course
deny
it is.
science. Doesn't
I'm
deny
pretty
science
sure-
at all. See, this is where evolutionists try to say that history, their interpretation about what happened in the past, is science, when it's nothing more than their interpretation. There's a difference between what we can observe directly and what you infer about the past based on what we observe.
Okay.
So back that up, because when the Bible says the great deeps were burst forth, when the great deeps were burst forth, and it rained for 40 days and 40 nights, how could that happen if it was local? And not only that, but that shows us tectonic movement right there. We can see the Mid-Atlantic Rift, which is a huge, great deep bursting forth of water. So that's
doesn't burst forth of anything.
What are the dates for all these things? We need dates to correspond these claims.
Well, yeah, and I would add, Arcane. Listen, fuck, I kind of forgot what you said. Oh yeah, you said that. Wait. So you said that it's about interpretation, essentially, right? There's difference between
No. What I said was, you can't take your interpretation of what we scientifically observe and mean that equals science. It's just your interpretation of science.
Okay. So here, let me try this. The fact there is no bunnies and humans in the Cretaceous, is that just our interpretation, or is that a fact?
Okay, dude, would you expect alligators to be buried next to human beings? Just saying. If that's the case, then that means that alligators and humans didn't exist at the same time.
I didn't say next to them. I said in a layer.
Out based on their density, their mass, their geographical location.
No, it doesn't. That doesn't fit at all.
Yes, it does. If you look at hydrological stratification, when you got sand, silt, clay, limestone, all that in one bottle, and you shake it up and you set it on the counter, if you had bugs in there and different things, they're gonna layer out based on their mass, their density.
That has been
their ability to escape.
That has been debunked like a million.
On top.
Hey, Arcane and Jesus. this was debunked like a million times. I can show you dozens of videos that deal with this claim in depth.
Well, you
And
know
also,
what debunks that?
and also, wait. And also, yeah, you're right. There could be things that could debunk it, like experiments that some creationist scientists did, which results they didn't never publish.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. But what debunks that is polystrate trees going up through multiple of these layers. So if it's possible that one single tree, wait a second, if it's possible that one single tree can go through multiple layers of rock which are dated at different ages, then it's certainly possible that humans and or dinosaurs and bunny rabbits could easily be in different layers be separated by vast amounts of time.
Show me this tree.
Show me a link for one tree that passes through multiple layers that are dated.
Hold on, I will.
Okay, it's possible for that to happen if the tree made it there after the layers were actually deposited.
No, it's not possible. We're talking about solid rock. You're talking about all you have to do.
Well, I mean, you'd have to because there
are
fossils that have made it into multiple layers because they made it there after the layers had already formed.
No.
That's the thing that happens.
Sure.
But,
type in your Google engine.
If we can look at it and see what the explanation is from the scientists who discovered it, then great. Let's take a look.
There are, if I may, there are varied processes that can cause a tree to essentially falsify, to calcify, etc. And then after the tree is calcified, that's not going to stop additional sediments from settling around the calcified tree.
Right. There's multiple ways this can happen.
So these trees are standing up in the vertical position. Some of them even upside down in a vertical position, where you can see the roots.
That's not entirely strange.
Well, it's very strange if you're trying to say that these layers are multiple age or different.
No. Additional layers build up while the tree is there.
While the tree is standing up. So trees stand up for millions of years.
There are fossilized dinosaur footprints that are upside down because just the layers flip over time.
Well, that's your claim. I would say that dinosaur graveyards with all of these different dinosaur bones mangled up in one spot is also proof, sufficient.
What's your explanation for upside-down dinosaur footprints?
Not only that, you've got multiple layers of strata that are bent and curving. Some of them curve to the point where they even end up on top of each other. So this suggests that those layers were soft.
How do you prove? What is your explanation for upside down footprints?
I'm wondering if it might be these ancient machines to be destroyed that created the pyramids before the flood.
Here comes the nonsense. You can't argue against my point, so you bring up some other irrelevant nonsense.
No, I'm trying to get you to answer upside down dinosaur footprints.
Show me
when it flips over. Just look them up, man. They're all over the place.
You're talking about a footprint as opposed to a tree standing up. Okay.
Yes, I'm talking about a footprint.
There's a
How
difference.
do you explain it?
Bruh, there's a difference between a tree standing up for millions of years while sediment forms around it and an upside-down footprint.
Fossilized.
About like it fossilized upside-down dinosaur footprint, as in it would have been walking underneath the planet. How? But it happens because the sediment layers flip over. That's the evolutionary justification.
Oh,
now,
so sediment layers completely upend themselves and flip over.
They can absolutely do that.
Yeah.
Now, what would be the creationist explanation for it?
Well, I'd have to see what you're talking about, man. I don't know what you're talking about.
I'll have to provide it to you later.
But the fact is, you can Google image search polystrate trees and see clearly, without any kind of trickery, that these trees are connecting multiple layers that you guys believe are different ages.
Hey, Arcane, you know what? You can also Google aliens, and you will see a lot of pictures of aliens.
Address my point.
Yeah, just looking at the pictures. I think that addresses it. Yeah, looking at the picture tells you really nothing. Unless you know what layer it is, unless you can test it, show me a scientific paper. Okay, then
ask your mom.
That's your solution
here. Jack.
It is.
Arcane, show me a scientific paper, dude.
Share that link there. Someone screen share that and explain to me how those layers can be different ages using common sense.
Really? Do I have to screen share an alien picture? Come on.
Who said anything about aliens? You guys are the ones obsessed with aliens. I never said anything about aliens.
Art loves aliens. Art is an alien, actually.
Apparently.
I'm an Asgard.
He's from Uranus.
Just like you guys are obsessed with the flying teapots and flying spaghetti monsters and the rest of it. So you don't want to address specific points made by theists. You want to characterize.
Burton Russell's teapot is awesome.
You guys want to make cartoons of our argument, so you don't have.
Okay, now I just want actual people. Credited people who are qualified to analyze these things and determine reliably where they are, what they are, in what layers they are.
You're going to reject it either way.
Me looking at a picture, I'm a layman. I have no fucking idea what I'm looking at. Really.
Okay, so if you're a layman, then by what grounds do you say that my beliefs aren't scientific? All right?
Because they go against the scientific consensus of actual.
Okay, thank you.
No, it says the scientific consensus.
No, that's a layman.
Because
no.
They're that easy.
Layman lane.
In my case, it's because I've listened to Wildwood Claire's videos discussing these things.
Well, me too, actually.
Yeah, you listen to Bill Nye the Science Guy, and all of a sudden you're qualified to tell me that I'm unscientific.
No. I'm telling you, because okay, is it a fact, Arcane, that you're going against the scientific consensus? Yes or no?
Okay, the people who thought the Earth was round were against the scientific consensus at one point.
Actually, there was not science. Actually,
no,
that was really,
that
was really.
Right. So,
no, it's not. Define science. Define
so you want to reject science and it's convenient for you.
There was a large portion of scientists on the planet Earth that believed that the world was spherical at the time, the exact same period of time that Europeans viewed that the world was flat.
That is correct.
Right.
That is
there was
correct.
consensus.
The world was a sphere goes all the way back to Isaiah, dude. That was
actually,
fucking history and shit.
There is actually, as far as I know, there is actually no evidence that the consensus of.
Bro, you're interrupting continuously. I was trying to make a point that in the book of Isaiah it says that the earth is a sphere, which was prior to any scientific data. So now you can address that point. Go ahead, Art.
Give me the line, please, because if I remember correctly, it doesn't actually say that it's a sphere.
Yeah, it says it's a circle, actually. Yeah. What I was saying is that I don't know if any scientific any statistics or reliable reports.
So what's the difference in
spirit? Wait.
Right.
Well, let me finish the point. You just said that I'm interrupting, and you just interrupted me while I was making my point. So I don't know if any, again, reliable statistics and reports that scholars or scientists, which are not actually scientists back then because the scientific method was not developed yet, thought that the world was flat.
Oh,
I know there's reports of laymen, some people, but I really haven't seen, any reliable kind of.
This is my point exactly. You reject science when it's convenient for you. You're telling me that the people back then did not have observation, testing, and demonstration, which led them to their false conclusion that the world was flat.
Okay, define to me the scientific.
You're completely disingenuous.
What civilizations is everybody talking about? Everybody's talking about these people. They prove these things, but what civilization? What are the dates? Who are the names? Because you could just say all these things, it makes no difference. You're not talking about a consistent time frame.
Yeah, okay, that's on you because you made a claim.
What claim? That the people who thought that the Earth was flat? Are you saying that the people who thought that the Earth was flat just blindly asserted that?
No.
People typically didn't think the Earth was flat. I mean, people have known the Earth is spherical for a very, very long time.
Yeah, they actually made experiments proving that. I mean, who is this Greek philosopher? I forgot his name. He basically made an experiment with shadows.
People during the Middle Ages knew that it was spherical too.
I believe it goes the earliest
time, guys.
The earliest I'm aware of goes back to the days of ancient Rome, in which they'd done some measurements of varied obelisks and just basically calculated the circumference, essentially, of the Earth relatively close.
Yeah. Didn't the Egyptians do the same thing?
I'm not sure that Egypt did. I'm quite sure that Rome did, but I'm not positive on Egypt.
My recollection is that Rome, Egypt, and the Mayans managed to pull that off.
And also, it's kind of irrelevant anyway, Arcane. No one says that the scientific method or the consensus leads you necessarily to truth, so to speak, but it's the best thing we have.
But hang on,
It's really sad when you appeal to it then. When you say, well, this is what the consensus... What you're saying to me is this, Art. You say that because the consensus holds this view, you're unscientific if you disagree.
I'm saying you're most likely unscientific. I'm not saying you're necessarily unscientific, just to clarify. Sorry.
I think the point is here. I think the point is here that during the time of ancient Greece, as well as some of these other time periods, there were multitudes of people that were part of the general public that believed the world to be flat, even though the science of that day said otherwise.
Right. Well, the point that I was making is this. You can't appeal to scientific consensus when we know that scientific consensus can be turned on its head due to further scientific study, investigation, and validation.
Why hasn't it yet then? Like, if that's... I mean, if you have a much better explanatory theory, then you can go and submit it to any...
Think about it, though, because science is based on on philosophy, essentially. So if you hold an ideology of evolution and uniformitarianism, then it's going to be hard for you to give up that belief, and it's going to be propagated amongst society in a way. So this is what I see. I see one view being taught as fact, and another view, if you hold a different view, you're dismissed as a crank or a kook or a religious fanatic, and you're not taken seriously. But that in no way, just like Art admitted, in no way constitutes truth.
Well, yeah, I mean, what
it's
I would say
continuous for you to say, well, you don't believe in consensus, therefore you're not scientific. That's the
I would
only
say
point
that,
I'm
look,
making.
I mean, science is predicated on a number of metaphysical, like, assumptions, right? One of them being, methodological naturalism. And obviously, yeah, scientists are human beings, and they do get attached to their own pet theories. But there are, these sort of Kuhnian paradigm shifts in science that happen, all the time, right? I think it's a so like, if you have a better explanatory model of these things, whether of evolution or of ancient civilizations, then I mean, if it's not just you who has it, but apparently lots of people, then why don't you just submit it for some kind of like scientific review? Like, why is it,
well, but look at
it's being rejected probably because the evidence for it isn't very good, or it doesn't.
Also, you'd have to consider the fact that there's a monopoly in the scientific community among people who don't hold that paradigm. And if you hold a paradigm, like I said, that uniformitarianism holds and that methodological naturalism is the most effective way of doing science, if you hold that position, then anything outside of that you have to dismiss by definition. So if science is methodological naturalism, just let me finish this point. If science is based on methodological naturalism, then any evidence pointing to a supernatural, you have to dismiss based on by definition. Don't you see?
I agree, yeah. You should
you set yourself up to be limited inside of this methodological naturalistic box where any evidence to the contrary is dismissed by definition.
It's not that it's limited, by the way. It's just that it's a necessity. You cannot test metaphysical claims. You cannot test supernatural claims. Science just cannot go there.
That doesn't mean you dismiss it.
Well, if you cannot test it, well, if you cannot prove it scientifically, what's the point even to consider it?
Well, if that's the case, then why consider that you have logic? Why consider that you have reason? Why consider induction? Because none of that can be proved scientifically. So come on, let's be consistent. You guys want to be appealing to things that are not provable by methodological naturalism, but then dismiss anything that you can't verify using methodological naturalism. I think that's a very inconsistent, self-refuting worldview.
No, it's not. Science doesn't.
No, there's also a difference between metaphysical naturalism and methodological naturalism. I mean, you can be committed to if I were to do science, yeah, I would adopt methodological naturalism, but that doesn't mean that I'm a metaphysical naturalist. It just means that, in order for good science or reasonable science or science that's accessible to everyone and able to make these predictive models to even take in place, that's sort of the way I would have to proceed. But that doesn't mean that I'm not saying that would make that scientific knowledge or something, some sort of like totalizing view of everything that's real. But I guess my point is this: if the scientific evidence for this is so strong, it just seems really weird to me that pretty much every single graduate department in biology, geology, you name it, rejects it, like the whole world over, right? Like you would think that.
Well, it's not that they reject it based on evidence, though. They reject it based on their presupposition.
What's your evidence of
I'm
that?
not saying that they,
I
rejected
will
this
say-
out of hand. I say that they have presuppositions which undermine the evidence.
The Scientific Institute of Korea, South Korea, has a creationism, and they hold that creationism is true.
Oh wait, really? Like
Yes.
with South Korea or North
South Korea. South Korea.
Holy shit! Okay. That
Well,
is-
I guess I stand corrected then.
yeah. Holy shit.
Yeah,
Okay.
John, you're a theist, man. So you're at least open-minded to a supernatural realm.
Absolutely,
Let's
yeah.
say somebody
I'm
who
just
isn't,
saying that.
like, As somebody who
Wait,
isn't,
wait,
methodological
Arcane,
naturalism can only take
I'm sorry,
you
dude.
so far.
There's
So-
something you're missing. There's
well,
something.
hold
You're
on.
missing.
Methodological naturalism, when it comes to a conclusion of something, when you reach a certain point, that there is no natural explanation, based on methodological naturalism from an atheistic standpoint, you can't even entertain the possibility that there is a supernatural intervention.
Incorrect.
Well, by definition, if all
Incorrect.
knowledge is gained by science, and science can't get
No,
you to the
no,
supernatural,
false dichotomy.
follows as night and day.
Dude, I spent 20 years walking the shamanic path, okay? You want it, and while I was walking that path, I did not believe in your God, therefore I was an atheist by definition.
No,
You
no,
want to tell
what
me I
happened-
can't believe in the spiritual but being an atheist? Please,
No,
continue.
no. As an atheist, that is the position that you don't believe in God.
Yes,
Right.
and well, being an atheist, I was also walking the shamanic path.
A lot of Buddhists are atheists, and they're very spiritual. There's Taoism is an atheistic philosophy religion, and it's very spiritual as well.
Well, as far as discussing a supernatural intervention, as far as the creation of life and the universe and stuff like that, if you don't believe in a supernatural creator, then your methodological naturalism is going to leave you at a dead end, and that's the point. So anything.
Not really.
Let's be consistent.
Well, Ocean, we've already talked about that your morals are completely subjective and that, you know.
Oh yeah, no, morals don't figure into what I'm talking about. The claim was something about spirituality, and I was just simply backing up that Buddhism, Taoism, and a lot of other Eastern philosophies, philosophy/religions, are atheistic, but they're also very spiritual at the same time.
Yeah.
And also do not hold to naturalism as an explanation to the universe.
Well,
Taoism specifically believes that the universe is an organism that grows, rather than something that was kind of tripped over by accident.
Well, in the context that we're talking about, it matters not what you believe, but what you can explain. Okay, so if your belief doesn't lead you to a supernatural explanation of the origin of something, then you're kind of stuck at a dead end.
No, it can, even if it were to lead you to a supernatural explanation, that supernatural explanation doesn't necessarily have to be a divine force.
Well,
they're usually
Very true.
different supernatural explanations.
Very true, but that's when you discuss which proposition has an explanatory power. So, like, if you're a Hindu or whatever, and you don't believe in a creator God, like a personal creator, then we could say, okay, then how do you propose that it got here? Where did space, time, and matter come from?
Mu was a personal creator,
Well,
but also
I-
created the universe.
Dude, I write
She's
sci-fi.
pretty cool.
Dude, I write sci-fi. I could come up with 15 on the fly.
That are actually considered to be rational. I mean,
That are equally plausible, yes.
equally plausible as a personal creator.
Yes.
13.
Oh,
I'd love to read some of your sci-fi. Just putting that out there.
Right. Sure, I could say Magic Pixies did it, but that has no explanatory power.
Well, sure it does.
Oh, of course it does.
No, it
Yeah,
doesn't.
magical pixies.
would have equal explanatory power. You
If
just-
those magical pixies were personal creators, like if the magical pixies were also what created humanity
Well, that's
and
what
the
I'm
universe and everything else, well, I mean, those could be magical pixies. Magical pixies would explain it.
That's like when people say like the magical unicorn.
That's the invisible pink unicorn. It's not magical.
Oh, the invisible pink unicorn. Well, yeah, you could say that, but where did the unicorn come from? You're describing a
But
contingent.
the invisible
being.
pink unicorn is always has been and always will be.
And this is the thing.
But for an atheist to say that, then they've given up atheism.
No,
No,
not
they
necessarily. Actually, not necessarily.
This is something about your arguing that I really don't like, because like,
as long as you're
if
not
somebody
trying the
if
idea
somebody's
of
doing
God.
something for the sake of argument, they're not giving up their position. They're simply
Yeah.
entertaining another for an argument.
Right.
It's like, okay,
Even
well, let's
if-
give you your position.
Hey,
There's
listen.
probably more things that are wrong with it. Let's give you this, and then we'll talk about what
Right,
the
this
parameters
is what
of it.
happens.
Even
This is what
if-
happens.
even
They
if
say that
somebody-
they say
hang
that a
on, even if
magical
somebody
pink or
legitimately
an invisible
believes-
pink unicorn is a sufficient explanation. If you say that an invisible pink unicorn is a sufficient explanation next to your personal creator, then you are in fact saying that your personal creator is a sufficient explanation.
Well, no, what
No,
I'm
actually,
saying
that's-
is,
don't see
what
the
I'm
folly
saying
in
is
that
that
at all.
there's no difference. There's no difference between magical pixies and the theist and the classical theist
Right.
doctrine.
Well, I think that's a very ignorant assertion.
Please
Well,
allow me for a moment, please, guys. Now, the thing
for
is, even if somebody legitimately believed in an invisible pink unicorn creating thing, or a flying spaghetti monster, or whatever, the distinction is this is equivalent to using the word God for all intents and purposes. It's just a different word attribution to what's creating it, and you're not linking it to all the other things associated with that G word.
Well,
It's just
if
it's
that is a
it's
sufficient
creating a
explanation,
situation in
though,
which there is no
13?
functional difference.
13,
Yes.
are you saying that that as it's a sufficient explanation, has explanatory power for the existence of space, time, and matter as a personal creator?
Under that framework, yes, it would.
Okay, so you're positing something that you don't believe, which you believe has sufficient explanatory power. Don't you see the
You
folly?
see, no, here's the problem, Arcane. You don't get it. As someone
Oh,
who
I
actually
get it. You just don't get
wait. Let me finish. As someone who argues this point against you plenty of times and other presuppositionalists, when I do this, when I say, okay, I can just adopt.
I'm an Islam now.
Exactly, Islam essentially. I'm not saying I actually adopted Islam and therefore have defeated your view, because then I would be kind of giving up my sort of view. I'm saying your reasoning is absurd, and if your reasoning is true, it should lead to anyone choosing any religion he likes. A priori. Wait. A priori.
Any religion with a creator God.
Yes, and I can choose it as well and disprove your God.
Well, that you actually.
Now, in actuality, mind you, it doesn't
Because
actually.
all their books of Revelation can be falsified.
Right.
Anything that was mentioned in the Quran can be falsified.
This is why atheists will usually default to something like the flying spaghetti monster or the invisible pink unicorn, because they're much simpler ideas.
Yeah,
And there's not any revelation that can be refuted, but functionally they're the
At
same
the same
thing.
time, it's not the same thing though.
Well, gentlemen, I don't mean to interrupt, but I gotta go. I was just gonna stop broadcasting, and I don't know if you want me to have.
Yeah, thanks for the hangout.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah,
man.
no problem. No problem. Take care, guys.
All right, if you could just you're just gonna leave, right? You're not gonna close the hangout in any way, if it's even possible.
No, he just takes it off air and takes off.
He's got stuff to do. Let him go.
Okay. No, I don't want to keep him there.
Stop broadcasting. So.
Okay, right. So the hangout should stay. Okay.
Yeah, it just doesn't. It just won't be live.
Okay. I should actually know this.
guys.
But,
Yeah, you should actually know that.
Yeah.
Take care.
Art, come on.
I hope you all
Okay,
come to
can I?
We love you.
Oh, thank you.
Hey, dude, can I say something just for the record?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Personally, I don't mind when people believe in stuff I don't believe in. I kind of appreciate it to a degree. The thing that frustrates myself, and I think I speak for a lot of people that are quote-unquote atheists when I say this, is that when you're getting into these arguments, it's just, okay, well, it's okay that you believe that. You don't need to sit there and start trying to come up with weird proofs and this and that. It's okay.
I agree with that.
I agree. I just like the topic.
Yeah,
No,
it's fun to talk about.
Like we're
But when
supposed
you're
to
telling me
talk and be analytical and critical. I think discussions are very healthy, and we should talk. And if it becomes an argument or it's contentious in any way, I agree with you. We should probably stop that and just leave it as that's my belief. But you guys take care, man. Have a wonderful night.
Right. See ya. Too bad Arcane Life.